of the devastation and violence it has perpetrated in Gaza.
The MK party has also condemned the U.S. attack on Iranian nuclear sites, calling it a war crime disguised as deterrence. Babalo Ndense, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $3,356.28 an ounce. The rand is at 18.06 to the dollar, 24.25 to the pound, 20.79 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $77.93 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got roadworks taking place in Kempton Park along the R21 North, and they are causing delays between the R23 and the R25. About a 10-minute hold up there. Please be on the lookout and approach with care. If you are traveling in Boksburg, we've got an accident reported on the N12 East. It happened right after the R21 turn off, and it's causing heavy delays. Please be on the lookout there and drive with care.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, search and rescue teams have found 2 more bodies in the Eastern Cape, bringing the death toll to at least 94.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Walk through history, walk with it. Sunday, 27 July, 7:02 Walk the Talk. Hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. More on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, happy Monday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being with us here on 702. I wish you all the best with your plans. Vandag. If you're joining us on YouTube, nearly said Zoom, on YouTube, hello to you. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube. You just go to the 702 YouTube page. You can watch and listen to the show at the same time. Our show starts with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Why did America bomb Iran's nuclear facilities? Was it following its own foreign policy, or did it fold under the pressure of Israel and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? And where does this US attack on Iran leave the diplomatic negotiations? I'm interested in your thoughts. Please give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. I had Sfiso Zulu reporting on Eyewitness News that the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency meeting, and I just rolled my eyes, honestly, when I heard that. I did, because what do you think the United Nations is going to do here that could potentially change Israel's or the US's actions? I mean, even if they condemn the US or Israel, that's not going to mean anything. I've said this many times, that the United Nations has become so useless, and I say that respectfully. Isn't it useless in as far as its intention and role to protect human rights abuses is concerned? Its role to protect the weakest from the powerful in the world? I'm beginning to lose hope in this institution, and we all need it to work. I mean, the US was busy proposing to take over Gaza and own it. What did the United Nations do? It just can't be a multilateral institution that just exists to condemn. How many resolutions has Israel ignored from the United Nations? How many resolutions has Russia ignored? I can go on and on. Who else do countries run to as smaller nations, as weaker nations, if the United Nations is not going to be a place where they know for sure they have protection? And we always have to go back to why the United Nations exists. After World War II, which was the largest and deadliest conflict in human history, the United Nations was created as a peacekeeping force because there was a realization that we need to find other ways to resolve conflict. But how effective has it really been? when dealing with these powerful countries? I think it has partly failed. Not entirely, but partly failed. And even in this instance, I don't think whatever is going to come out of the Emergency Security Council meeting will have any bearing on what's happening in the Middle East. Let me know your thoughts on what we've seen so far, the US's actions on Iran. At 10 o'clock, we're going to stay on this global story. We all need to be seriously concerned about what happens next. Does Iran retaliate against the US? Do they not have a right to defend themselves? And how will it retaliate? What would be the consequences of that? We're going to be live in Iran for the latest, live in Israel as well, and live in Turkey. I want to get a sense of how the region is reacting and try and understand how we got here from experts even in the Middle East. At 10:30, we're going to continue with our series about the afterlife. We've been doing this series, and we're approaching the end of it. We've been doing this series where we look at what different belief systems teach about the afterlife. As I've said, we need to have more interest about the entire experience as humans. We are more than our physical bodies. The human experience is more than this body. And I think we should be more curious to ask questions about other parts of our human experience, whether it's our spirit or it's our soul. You know, some people believe in eternal life. Some people believe in reincarnation. What do you believe happens after life? That's a conversation we're going to have at 10:30. So far, we've looked at what different Christian denominations believe about the afterlife. We've looked at what Islam teaches, what African spirituality teaches about the afterlife, Judaism. We looked at atheism and agnosticism, focused on what Buddhism teaches about the afterlife. And today we're going to be looking at Hinduism. That's at 10:30. And then at 11 o'clock, we wrap up the show with our Family Matters feature. And today we're going to discuss the importance of showing affection to and around your kids. Are you a parent that is intentional about showing affection to your kids? Do you and your partner show affection to each other in front of your kids? How has that affected how they relate with each other and with other people? I mean, affection is one of the most important tools a parent can offer a child. So I think it plays a vital role in shaping that child's emotional well-being, that their sense of security and just overall development. And whether you grew up experiencing affection from your parents or not, those are some of the things you have to learn as a parent so that your own child has a different childhood experience. So that's a conversation at 11 o'clock on our Family Matters feature. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
My name is Clement. It's Charles Manyathela in Riverside. You know, we are on our own for money, man. Basically means where anyone can attack any nation, and if you don't have an arsenal to respond, then you're in trouble. The UN can condemn all they want. Israel, the US, Russia, they attacked at will. The inauguration of Trump has been a big problem for the world, man. We can't wait for this man to leave so everything can return to normal. Because Bibi, with Trump, it's got him.
Okay, so let's give some context for some listeners maybe that may have missed some bits of how we got here, right? And let me share my view as well, and then also take your thoughts on this latest development. So this was Operation Midnight Hammer. That's what the US code named it. And the question I've been asking myself is whether this operation has been a success or a spectacular failure, right? Operation Midnight Hammer was the code name for this US attack on Iran. It involved about 125 aircrafts. I mean, it was conducted with such precision from what the US has told us. So was it a success or was it a failure? What do you think? And success in terms of the actual damage the US strikes have caused on Iran's nuclear facilities, and success in terms of opening up the diplomatic channels. Iran says its nuclear infrastructure, especially Fordow, which basically is Iran's most important nuclear enrichment facility. It's buried deep, deep, deep inside a mountain to guard it from any sort of attack. It wasn't obliterated by attacks, as claimed by Donald Trump. Some of the officials in Iran have downplayed the impact of this U.S. attack. In fact, the Pentagon held a briefing yesterday and said, we're still waiting for a damage assessment. So in as far as physical infrastructure is concerned, the U.S. can't even claim complete obliteration of the nuclear facilities because they're still waiting for an assessment damage. But Iran says, well, we're not really affected as they claim. In as far as diplomacy is concerned, Iran believes the U.S. actions have betrayed diplomacy. The U.S., by the way, now says diplomacy must now take over. It has no plans to launch more strikes. But the question is, what does Iran do now? What do you think should be the approach of Iran? Should it retaliate? And if it retaliates, does it retaliate against the U.S. or against Israel? What does retaliation even look like for Iran? Because they control some militia in the Middle East that are near U.S. bases. Is that the way to go? Because America said, if you dare retaliate, you will regret it. And why did America get involved at this stage? What threat was America facing? And that's why I asked, was this action backed by American foreign policy or by pressure from Benjamin Netanyahu? Because you don't just intervene militarily in a sovereign state unless that decision is grounded on facts. For instance, does the U.S. have information that the supreme leader in Iran ordered weaponization? America says the question is irrelevant. Really? Is it irrelevant? If the U.S. intelligence has not indicated that Iran has made a decision to build a nuclear weapon, was this attack then grounded on facts? Or there was an absence of intelligence here? Let's give you some background. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, thanking Donald Trump for attacking Iran.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace.
That's Benjamin Netanyahu praising President Donald Trump after that U.S. attack on Iran. Now, please bear with me because I want to give you some context so that I frame why I believe what I believe this morning, and you can share your thoughts as well. Benjamin Netanyahu has been claiming for years now that Iran is close to producing nuclear weapons for many years. In fact, let me take you as far back as 1996. This is what he said in 1996.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also...
That's what he said, right? The deadline is extremely close. That's 1996. Listen to him in 2002.
And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years.
Within 15 years. Here he is in 2012 making the same assessment.
By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
That was in 2012. What did he say in 2015?
The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place...
That's in 2012. Now let's listen to the latest clip where he makes the same assessment he's been making since 1996. This was on the 12th of June this year.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
So, since 1996, he's been saying the same thing. Okay, maybe you're wondering, maybe he is right this time around. Well, let's hear from the US's intelligence director, Tulsi Gabbard. This is what she said earlier this year.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
That's it, and that's key. The US clearly has no evidence that Iran is building a weapon. That's the US's intelligence director. I mean, she's since come out to say, the media misquoted me, but where in that clip is she being misquoted? She's saying that in her own words, but she's coming out to say this now on X because Donald Trump clearly had different views to hers. Now, the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was asked this question during a TV show yesterday, whether America had intelligence that the supreme leader of Iran ordered weaponization. This is how he responded.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the supreme leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked on the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
but that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build
point
a
in
weapon.
U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not been
I know that better than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons.
How? What do you mean it doesn't matter that the order was given? He says it's irrelevant, which then makes you wonder, on what intelligence did the US base this attack on? So what did America rely on to make this decision to attack Iran? And I'm asking this, and we have to be careful because it's the same America that claimed that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And then 20 years later, what happened? Did they find those weapons of mass destruction? Or was that used to justify the invasion? Now, listen to the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency. His name is Rafael Grossi. His team is basically the one that goes to countries and monitors nuclear sites. They've even gone to monitor the nuclear sites in Iran. Remember, having nuclear facilities is not prohibited. So you can have the capability and the capacity. The problem is when you weaponize it. And as you've heard from Marco Rubio, as you've heard from the US's intelligence director, they haven't had any evidence of that. Here is the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency speaking on CNN yesterday. I watched his interview, and he said they didn't have information that Iran planned to weaponize nuclear facilities.
Was Iran beginning to weaponize its program?
We didn't have any indication to that effect.
We didn't have any indication to that effect. So what did America rely on? Even the IAEA said there's no conclusive, credible evidence of a nuclear weapon. And look, I think there are legitimate concerns about Iran's nuclear activity. It's recently expanded rapidly, I think to about 60% enrichment. And the question, of course, is why did they rapidly escalate? Because 60% is far beyond what you need for peaceful nuclear energy. And there was an international concern around this. And as I said, enriching uranium is not forbidden, but when you are the only country in the world that's enriching to 60% and continues to do so, that is a concern and it must be dealt with. But a decision can be made that, that country has decided to weaponize when there's no credible evidence to it, because then America can just go around bombing any other country that has nuclear facilities and say, they've just decided to do it. What is that based on? The Trump administration, I believe, have walked away. I think it was in 2018. They walked away from a deal that Barack Obama has negotiated, a nuclear deal with Iran. And some people now are saying Iran is never going to give up its nuclear weapons precisely for the reason of what happened this past weekend. Because what happened to Ukraine when they gave up their nukes? Got invaded by Russia. Saddam Hussein gives up nukes, gets invaded and executed. Gaddafi gives up chemical weapons, and what happened? Gets invaded. So do you think Iran is going to give up its nuclear programs given these attacks? Are we suddenly going to see regime change in Iran because the US and Israel says the current one is an oppressive and dangerous regime? And that's a separate conversation we can have. But I don't see Iran suddenly changing their viewpoint and leading to unconditional surrender of their nuclear facilities, especially because of how the US has dealt with this issue. And to think that Iran would be stupid to leave their assets vulnerable, I mean, I doubt this is going to bring Iran to the negotiating table, but we need them to start talking. But Trump walked away from the table. And now he's gone and attacked Iran, and Iran wants to retaliate, and Trump says, if you dare retaliate, you're going to see hell, essentially. So what do you think with that context? Who's right here? Who's wrong? And what should be the approach of Iran? Because you don't want an escalation of conflict where you lead to instability in that region. Already the war on Gaza is devastating enough. Let me know your thoughts. 011-883-0702. Your WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. Victory demands everything, but the journey is never solo. My team carves the way, data and innovation are my compass. This is how today's champions are made.
Drive your success and trade like a champion. CFI, a global leading broker now in South Africa. Access over 15,000 instruments, advanced trading tools, 24/7 support, and superior trading services. Visit cfi.trade today. CFI Financial is an authorized financial services provider.
CFI, empower yourself.
Winter is here, and so are the season's hottest deals. Whether you are powering through early mornings or cozying up on cold nights, Take-A-Lot is your one-stop winter shop for heaters, appliances, winter skincare, and everyday essentials. Shop smart, stay warm, and make winter your season with Take-A-Lot.
Psst. Hey, no longer feeling like the man you used to be? The man who introduces himself and people say, I know.
The fact is, 95% of men with low testosterone go untreated.
Vitamin high-performance supplements for men helps recharge energy, regain lean muscle, and reload performance. Available at all good pharmacies and vitalamin.co.za.
Vitalamin.
Don't get older, get better.
Tani Esther, or should I say the Tupperware Tani? How's business going?
Business is booming. I've been operating out of the boot of my car for 10 years, but shame, it couldn't keep up with my growing empire.
Okay, so you sold it to We Buy Cars?
Yes, quick. Sold my old one, bought a bigger one. I even sold some of my Tupperware to the friendly guy who picked up my car.
Stick to what you know best, eh, Tony?
Excuse me?
Never mind. We Buy Cars. Geared for your business, geared for you.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
27 minutes after 9 o'clock. Willie, you're calling us from Pretoria. Good morning. Tobel.
Good morning.
Sure.
Clement, I've said it before. The Hollywood nation that been played by Netanyahu for decades. He's always peddling lies about the countries around in the Middle East, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, all of them. Then he pulls out the Americans by the story. They commit their soldiers, they put the boots on the ground. Israel is sitting and watching and welcoming the $30 billion a year from the Americans. The problem here lies in the U.S. with APEC. Until that organization is dismantled, we'll be forever in this nonsense of trying to say the Jews did, the Jews this and that. But the fact of the matter is the Zionists all over the world are taking over and influencing the politicians in many countries to side with America, and that's where the world is at the right moment. But now, unfortunately, we have countries that really play the game. It remains to be seen. Thanks.
All right. Willie, thank you so much for your thoughts in Pretoria. Let's hear what the other listeners think. Lungelo, you're in Johannesburg. What are your thoughts?
Morning, Clement, and good morning to the 702 listeners as well.
Sure.
I think one of the things that we need to have a look at is just take a step back to the October 7th attack.
Yeah.
You have Israel, where we are led to believe that there were these massive security and intelligence failures and oversight, with Hamas attacking Israel and all of the sorts. But if you look at it in context, it looks like Israel was trying to draw out all of the organizations or entities deemed to be proxies for Iran. So you look at Hezbollah, you look at Hamas, and how they had to neutralize them before they could launch some sort of a campaign, or some sort of campaign to launch a war with Iran. It would have been impossible for them to do that with a strong Hezbollah within Lebanon, with a strong Hamas within the Gaza Strip and the West Bank and the likes. So they had to sort of do something to neutralize all of those proxies or deemed proxies before they could do anything with Iran. But yeah, it's fascinating to see Donald Trump, in essence as well, going against all the intelligence that is at their disposal, going against Tulsi Gabbard, going against the CIA, going against even his very own intelligence oversight committee within Congress. But yeah, it's from our perspective, from where we are, for some of us, it looks certainly like something that has been planned in conjunction with the October 7th attacks.
Are you suggesting, Lungelo, that, and I know this is a perspective that's been put out there before, that there is no way that the Israel intelligence wasn't aware of what Hamas was planning to do on October 7, because some people have made that suggestion that, well, how do you explain that? I mean, Israel has one of the most impeccable intelligence agencies in the world. How did they miss this one? Are you suggesting that perhaps they sort of allowed this to happen just so that they can go after these proxies and ultimately Iran?
Absolutely. I mean, how do you have Mossad, one of the most sophisticated intelligence agencies in the world, with some of their operations largely unknown? You only come to know about it after the fact. But it does look like something that was in the works to draw out Iran ultimately. Because how do you then launch a campaign of war against Iran with all of these proxies that are still in relative strength? But it does seem like this is something that is in relation to, or is associated at the very least, with the October 7th attacks as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, I always wonder if it's true that countries would do that, given that it's the civilians that suffer at the end of the day. It's like arguing that, and this is another view that's been put, that America may have known about September 11, but how does a country know about something so tragic that's about to happen and they don't do anything to protect their civilians because of a bigger political gain of sorts? Do you believe, as Lungelo suggests, that may have been the plan? We'll take more of your calls after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. It's 9:32. 011-883-0702 is the number to dial to weigh in on what we're discussing this morning about what should be Iran's next move. And what do you think of this action by America on Iran? We'll take your WhatsApps as well. Sfiso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Search and rescue teams have found 2 more bodies in the Eastern Cape, bringing the death toll to at least 94. Humanitarian aid organization Gift of the Giver says a resident informed authorities when they saw the bodies in Mthatha yesterday. A search mission continues for more victims in the province since it was hit by floods more than 2 weeks ago. A suspect linked to the murder of 8 people in Umlazi will make his first court appearance today in KwaZulu-Natal. The people were shot at an informal settlement last month. 6 people were also killed in the same area in 2021. And Iranian military officials and members of parliament have vowed that the US will pay a price for its strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. One top commander says Donald Trump can start the war, but Tehran will end it. Trump launched unprecedented U.S. attacks over the weekend on Iran's key underground uranium enrichment site at Fordo, along with nuclear facilities in Isfahan and Natanz. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, travelling in Midrand, we've got delays on the N1 South approaching Olifantsfontein Road. There's also queuing traffic in Kempton Park along the R21 North. This is due to roadworks that are taking place between the R23 and the R25. Expect about a 15-minute hold up there. Travelling in Boksburg, an accident reported along the N12 West, rather East, just after the R21, and it's causing delays. And there's still queuing traffic on the M1 North between Boysons Road and Carr Street. At this particular moment, I'm seeing an accident between Boysons and the Crown turn off, so please be patient if you're traveling along this route. I'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This isn't just a walk, it's a journey through memory, through meaning. The 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, returns on Sunday, the 27th of July. Walk from the hallowed grounds of Freedom Park to the southern lawns of the Union Buildings and past some of our capital city's most iconic landmarks. Choose from 8 kilometers, 6.7 kilometers in honor of Mandela Month, or 4 kilometers for something lighter. Entry is 360 Rand for adults and 200 rands for kids under 12. There's no parking at the start or end, so please book your park and ride from Joburg or Pretoria when you enter. Sign up on primemediaplus.com. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. Walk with meaning. Walk with us.
Mom, Dad, you're not gonna believe this.
What's up, bud?
Luke's family has a kitchen.
Okay.
Like a real one, with knives and a sink for dishes. His mom was just standing there, making food with her hands. There was a fridge full of vegetables, even broccoli.
Not broccoli.
Oh, the horror. Who needs a kitchen? Simply spend 200 Rand or more and you could win Simply Asia for a year. T's and C's apply. Simply Asia, connecting the Thai way.
The Maibuye Africa concert returns for its third electrifying edition this month, presented by Billy Monama in partnership with the Joburg Theatre. This musical experience takes place on the 28th and 29th of June. The lineup features 6 show-stopping guest artists: Zoe Modiga, Judith Sipuma, Malé, Berita, and the iconic Soul Brothers, each bringing their unique voice to this wonderful celebration of culture and identity. Tickets are available from webtickets.co.za.
It's a tough day for Mark. Tight deadlines and challenges everywhere. But Mark can rest easy, because when he bought his Hino 700 2845 truck tractor, he received a complimentary service plan covering up to 210,000 kilometers for short haul and up to 280,000 kilometers for long haul. Nice one, Mark. Visit your dealer today to find out more about this limited time offer. Hino, all the way. T's and C's apply.
Herschel Gibbs here, with more than just a crypto ad. Crypto payments are now live on 10Bet. And there's more. Download the app, deposit, and get an extra 5% in cash. The future of betting, faster, safer, and smoother. Play now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
This week marks the final installment of Season 4 of R&B Africa Focus on 702, and we're shining the spotlight on Africa's competitive edge in global markets. Join award-winning journalist Crystal Odison for one last deep dive into the sectors and strategies positioning Africa as a force in world trade and investment. Don't miss R&B Africa Focus this Tuesday on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and Thursday on 702 Drive with John Perlman. R&B is a proud sponsor of B20 and a leading African corporate and investment bank.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
22 minutes before 10 o'clock. 22 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's continue with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. Dawu, you're calling from Joburg. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. I'll try and be very short. I think that we might be making a mistake by looking at a very small portion of this war. as you have explained about what Bibi has been saying all over this period, what we are dealing with here, we are dealing with a global war that is being waged by people who control the US, Britain, Israel, and quite a large part of Europe. This global war has been going on for quite a long time. Now, the attack on Iran is just a demonstration, as we have seen in Palestine, that the proxy war that is being fought, that is being waged by the USA, whenever the dog that is on the leash by the USA, whether it be in Ukraine or in Israel, whenever it gets bitten, the master comes out and try and defend the dog. That is what makes Iran to have a right to defend itself. When when Russia was attacked and its nuclear bombers were damaged, it was very clear that that was being done, and it was not surprising that immediately when that third leg of the nuclear deterrent of Russia was broken, that Iran got attacked. The solution is simply this: the people of the world must rise and say, away with nuclear weapons. And if some countries have got nuclear weapons, if they don't get rid of the nuclear weapons, then every country must have a right to manufacture its own nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
But that is not the ideal, because nuclear weapons are something that we should not be having on planet Earth. They are a danger that might result with our planet being completely destroyed.
That's true. But here's a challenge now, Tau. And I think you're asking a legitimate question about who's allowed to have nuclear and who's not. I think Israel had taken a policy around, being ambiguous around it. I've seen many interviews where Benjamin Netanyahu was asked, do you have nukes? Have they even allowed the IAEA to come and inspect their nukes? That's never been the case. But Iran has opened its doors. So the question then becomes, is the issue here not who is this nuclear weapon in the hands of? For instance, you've got Iran, some of their officials that have come out and said, death to America, death to Israel. And that's now being used as justification why Iran must not have even these nuclear facilities. Because based on what they've said and what they believe about the existence of Israel and about what they believe about America, that poses a threat to these countries. What's your thought on that?
You see, the problem is simply this. Everybody who's in the United Nations knew very well that Israel has got nuclear weapons, in the same way as they knew that South Africa had the nuclear weapons. But what everybody does not want to talk about is that on planet Earth, there are two countries that do not obey international laws and rules. That is the USA and Israel, and all those countries that are linked with in this global war. Now, the USA in particular and Israel, they are not living by the international laws. They regard themselves as the law.
Okay. Tau in Joburg, thank you so much for your thoughts. Let's go to some WhatsApp voice notes, and then we'll come back for some more calls.
Good morning. This is KB. I'm not surprised that Trump did this attack. Him and basically the entirety of the Senate and Congress in America is bought by AIPAC. AIPAC was actually the biggest donor of all the of most of the politicians from the last election cycle. If I'm not mistaken, please fact check me, Trump got $30 million from AIPAC. So of course he was going to do Netanyahu's bidding. I mean, Netanyahu has been angry for this war. There's literally videos dating back as far as 1996 of him saying that Iran must be attacked because they're building like nuclear weapons, even though Israel has nuclear weapons. Yeah, no.
Good morning, Clement Manyathela and 702 listeners. Regarding what has happened to Iran, I think this just gives an incentive for any country that has got the potential to develop nuclear weapons to do so that they can guarantee their safety and security for their own citizens. Other than that, the law, United Nations, international law, non-proliferation treaty, they are useless because USA can do as it wish and Israel does as it wishes. I mean, every day there's more than 200 people or in 2 days that have been killed in Gaza, and nobody says anything about that. So I think states like Iran, they must just continue to develop so that they can guarantee their own safety. Thank you.
And that's the thing. Does this not incentivize countries to... I mean, look at North Korea. Kim Jong-un. Look at North Korea. They're sitting comfortably. And there's some suggestions are that that's because they've got some serious weapons. Right? So that is an incentive for countries. That's why I said it's very naive for Israel and America to think, oh, there's going to be some unconditional surrender by Iran. You've walked away from a nuclear deal that was signed by Barack Obama back in 2018. Trump walks away from that. For what? And now, here we are. And he says, oh, now the diplomatic channels are open. You bomb your way through diplomacy? Yo.
Good morning, Clement. In response to your question, if I were Iran, what would I do? Well, for me, it's simple. If I was Iran, I wouldn't attack any American personnel, assets, or bases. My retaliation would always be focused on Israel, for the simple reason that within America, even within Trump's own party, people are opposed to going to war for Israel. So if Iran is only hitting Israel and America keeps bombing Iran, it creates a split within the American society, especially within the Republican Party. And that's where I think Iran needs to win the war, is in dividing the Republicans, in getting Americans to oppose going to war for Israel. Because by just hitting Israel, you frame it as America is fighting for Israel. And Americans will be saying, why don't we let Israel fight its own war? Why are we getting involved? That's the strategy I would follow. Tsepo, Soweto.
Thank you, Tsepo. AB, you calling us from Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Clement.
Sure.
Context is very important. Now, Israel has always wanted to neutralize any kind of threat to its colonial project, that is the repression of the Palestinians. Iraq could have been very strong if left alone because it has the second largest oil reserve. Saddam seemed to be unreliable and was steadily moving towards forming a relationship with Russia. So Iraq had to be neutralized, smashed. And the pro-Israel neocons, Dick Cheney, Dick Cheney and the rest of them. So they concocted the big lie of weapons of mass destruction. It was a war for Israel. When Iran said that it wanted to develop nuclear power for peaceful purposes, that is to run electricity power stations and so on, way back in 1900s, Israel said, aha, it wants to develop a nuclear weapon. Iran said repeatedly, no, we don't want a weapon. And Netanyahu, since then, as you said, has been steadily bleating on, yes, they do. Then Obama came in and signed the deal in 2015 to say, okay, we'll send inspectors in to ensure Iran doesn't develop nuclear program to produce a nuclear weapon. Trump, heavily funded by Israeli supporters, came in and in 2018, as you know, tore up the deal. But when he came in the second term, he started the Obama deal again. It was going on fine, but Israel decided to scuttle it, and so we had the attack on Iran. Donald Trump had a big headache what to do. He was being pulled into the war on the side of Israel. If he entered, then he will have a big problem with his own MAGA, Make America Great Again constituency. Many of them were against the war. So the best thing is to knock out the nuclear sites, and so the talk of nuclear weapons is off the table. No wide-scale war with huge civilian deaths, huge damage to infrastructure, etc., like in Iraq, and possible attacks on U.S. interests in the region. Remove the reason, the nuclear issue, and both sides have no reason to continue the war. Netanyahu didn't get what he wanted, America coming in and smashing Iran completely. But he put on a brave face and praised Trump. Iran cannot respond to America with any sort of attack, and has already declared that it wants to see the UN Security Council to handle the whole issue. So in effect, the crisis is diffused, but Israel, no doubt, will not leave it and will dig up something from its bag of tricks, possibly a false flag operation or something else.
AB in Durban, in KwaZulu-Natal, thank you for making time. When we speak to that journalist in Israel, I'll also try to find out what the approach of the Israeli, the Benjamin Netanyahu's administration is. Do they still think they've got more goals to achieve in Iran, or does this attack, the latest attack by the US on Iran, somehow now settle it and they're going to walk away? That's what's coming up just after the news at 10 o'clock. It's 11 minutes now before 10.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
Hi 702 Land, I'm Palesa from Waterfall. I love 702 because it's an inclusive station. It prioritizes inclusion. It has some of the best award-winning broadcasters in this country, and they walk the talk.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts,
so we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
With all the recent headlines, it's time for some good news. A 25-year-old man, Tyler, is smiling all the way to the bank. He switched to OUTsurance and now saves a whopping 718 Rand a month on the insurance for his 2021 Ford Figo 1.5. Get a quote today and see how much OUTsurance could save you on your car insurance. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed, insured and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Hollywood Bets is bringing you a bounty of prizes with Spina Zonke prize drops. Gear up to unravel an endless supply of treasures and claim fantastic riches with a chance to win an amazing share of 2.5 million Rand in cash and prizes. All you have to do is bet 2 Rand or more on selected pragmatic play games on Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays between 12:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Feel the ultimate thrill when you log in for a spin and bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
9 stores, 11 days, endless DIY adventure. The famous Chamberlain Carnival is here as we offer hundreds of out-of-this-world deals. Join us from 22 May to 1st June as we turn every aisle into a galaxy of deals. Shop in store and stand a chance to win your share of 90,000 Rand in prizes. Get 20% off paint mixing and savings on everything from lighting to lawnmowers. Enjoy free popcorn, candy floss and the sounds of the Mac Chamberlain Highlanders Pipe Band. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
9 minutes before 10 o'clock. Saul, you're calling us from Highlands North. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Well, my thoughts is, contrary to what people have been saying, is that I think Israel has a right to defend itself, looking at the record of what Iran's really all about. Iran, purportedly is this country that is, all it's done is wanting peace in the Middle East, whilst on the one hand, and on the other hand, they finance Hezbollah with weapons and finance to ensure that missiles, straight after the October the 7th, Hezbollah started firing missiles and rockets into Israel for over a year. Same with Hamas. They financed Hamas. They even gave logistics support to Hamas. October the 7th, Hamas attacks Israel for whatever reason. They wanted to attack and kill 1,200 people and take hostages. If we go back in history, and this has been indicted by an Argentinian court, they had their hands in the bombing of a Jewish center where 200 people got killed in 1994, and quite honestly, as the foreign minister of Israel said recently on CNN, when a country says death to us and let's wipe Israel off the face of the earth, we do take it a bit seriously, just like they took it seriously in 1967 when Arab armies massed on their border and they said, what are they there for? They're not there to play a game of cricket. So that's why there was a preemptive attack, to ensure that they weren't attacked and wiped off the face of the earth. That's as simple. It's not about who's got nuclear weapons, and that's what everybody... It's about the people behind the nuclear weapons. That's why before the Cold War, during the Cold War, at least we had leaders that understood MAD, mass mutually assured destruction. They knew what, but we don't have those kind of leaders today. We don't have those kind of people running countries and organizations.
So, in Highlands North, thank you for your thoughts. Peter, what do you think? You're in Sandton. Hi.
Yes, Clement, just clarify this for me quickly. A while ago, I like your analysis when we start the show and then, painting scenarios. You said that you don't think that Trump is now getting along well with Netanyahu, and you quoted it at the time when Trump visited the Middle East.
The Middle East, yeah.
It's not Israel. We didn't go to Israel. And you said now that probably that's because Trump is not happy with what is happening in Gaza with Netanyahu. So what is your take now? What is it now that they're bombing Iran together? So what's your take? Are they back now as friends?
I don't think they are, Peter. I think that, in fact, I'm going to post... Are you on Twitter, Peter?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to post an interview that I think there was a former U.S. president who recently did an interview about how there were times when, as leaders, as well as a president, they were frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu, but you're almost like there's not so much you can do about it. So I still believe that at the time, Donald Trump was not getting well with Benjamin Netanyahu, and going to the Middle East and not even stopping by Israel was a sign for me. Even when I asked Donald Trump in the White House a couple of weeks ago whether he wants South Africa to drop its ICJ case, even though America has mentioned it as an issue, he said, well, I don't really expect anything from South Africa. And I think that was an indication. I think in this case now, he is under pressure to do something. I don't think this is based on America's foreign policy. I think this is based on more powers that we may not know about. But I think Donald Trump has been frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu the same way that Joe Biden was frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu because he didn't want to even have a conversation about a two-state solution, even though that's a position the U.S. and many other countries have taken. But at some point, when there's pressure that is being put on you to act, you are going to act. I mean, you look at how Marco Rubio, the vice president of the U.S., they've been doing interviews this weekend. They're finding it hard to really explain what this decision is grounded on. Where is the intelligence? When your own intelligence director says this, when the head of the IAEA says, well, there's never been any evidence that these people are about to build a weapon, a nuclear weapon, then what are you basing your decision to go on attack on? And the fact that they can't answer that, to me, says there are other reasons that we may not know of, but I don't think that suddenly means that they have a good relationship. I think Trump is still frustrated by him.
Yes, yeah. Marco Rubio, by the way, Secretary of State, not a Vice President.
Yeah, so I was saying the Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and then the Vice President as well. Because I saw two different interviews they did yesterday, and they were struggling to really explain. I mean, the Vice President even said they don't know when Trump actually took the decision to go on attack.
Yeah, this guy's crazy. Trump is I don't know. This guy is mad. But thank you very much.
All right, Peter, thank you. I'm going to post that interview. I'm now forgetting this former U.S. president. I don't know why. But I'll post an interview that he did. And that gives you a sense of sometimes they are frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu. But for some reason, there's pressure that is coming from somewhere, I don't know where they are forced to do something. And now they end up doing something. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu was visibly frustrated by Benjamin Netanyahu. Two-state solution. Let's do the deal. Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't really interested in that. But that didn't stop Joe Biden from releasing billions of dollars in military packages to Israel. What does that tell you? Yes, I'm frustrated by this leader, but help continues to flow from the U.S. to Israel. I don't know. How do you see it?
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Named Jenna. This is the first direct aggression by the U.S. on the Islamic Republic since its founding in 1979. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
So how did we get here?
That's a very good question. There's no evidence that Iran is working towards a nuclear weapon or even has intentions of doing so, at least until 2 days ago. The IAEA report has made that clear, and remember that Iran is the most inspected country in the world by the IAEA.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Checkers XXL Savings is on with the XXL Jackpot competition. The more SA swipes, the bigger the prize. Plus, save on Clover Butro Full Cream Butter Spread 500 grams, 2 for 149 Rand. And Baby Soft 2-ply toilet rolls 18-pack, any 2 for 249 Rand. Remember, simply buy any 3 participating products, swipe your extra savings card and get a scratch card to enter the competition. Deals valid until Sunday at Checkers.
We are woven into the same soil that shapes South Africa. Its dreams, its energy, its promise. These guide us. Together, we've built progress hand in hand, from the mines to bustling main streets, from one generation to the next. With communities, government and partners, every initiative from healthcare to education, youth empowerment to entrepreneurship lights the way forward. Because we don't just mine minerals, we mine possibility and progress with purpose. Together, we're shaping what's next, mining potential, building beyond. Anglo-American.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Quiet, please.
With 50% off on limited Tennis Town tickets, no wonder Amex card members are so thrilled. Enjoy a world-class tennis experience at Monte Casino between 11 and 13 July 2025. Buy your tickets for Amex Tennis Town online today at howler.co.za for the Championships Wimbledon experience with the Mzansi advantage. Tennis is better with Amex.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Search and rescue teams have found 2 more bodies in the Eastern Cape, bringing the death toll to at least 94. Humanitarian aid organization Gift of the Giver says a resident informed authorities when he saw the bodies in Mthatha yesterday. A search mission continues for more victims in the province since it was hit by floods more than 2 weeks ago. Gift of the Giver's head of search and rescue, Ahmed Bam.
2 bodies were found, males, yesterday afternoon in Dakulin by Mthatha. Bodies were recovered by search and rescue teams. Those were the 2 bodies that were found yesterday.
A suspect linked to the murder of 8 people in Umlazi will make his first court appearance today in KwaZulu-Natal. The people were shot at an informal settlement last month. 6 people were killed in the same area in 2021. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Police spokesperson Robert Nechunda says the suspect was arrested in Umlazi this past weekend.
Police acted on a tip-off from a community member, and the suspect was found at his hideout spot at Mhlabeni Informal Settlement in Umlazi.
Police say the suspect also had a warrant of arrest issued against him for a November 2024 case of pointing of a firearm. The KwaZulu-Natal provincial government has since blamed such cases on the availability of illegal firearms. Acting Police Provincial Commissioner Major General Phumelele Makhoba also raised concerns about such incidents. She has since appointed a team to thoroughly probe this case. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Umlazi, south of Durban.
Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen will visit the Karen Beef Feedlot in Heidelberg following an outbreak of the foot and mouth disease. Additional cases have been reported at the company's facilities in Nigel and Albert Falls in KwaZulu-Natal. While the outbreak has sparked concern across the red meat value chain, government has announced a state vaccine rollout plan. Thandoluhle Ngobo has more.
The foot and mouth disease outbreak has dealt a major blow to the beef industry, with cases confirmed in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and most recently the Northwest Province. The Agriculture Department has ordered over 900,000 vaccine doses from the Botswana Vaccine Institute, with initial deliveries expected soon. Officials say the vaccination drive aims to contain the current outbreak and strengthening long-term prevention measures. Today's visit will begin with a briefing from the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development's Veterinary Services Unit, outlining the province's response measures and strategies to contain the spread of the disease. Thando Ngcobo, Eyewitness News.
And Iranian military officials and members of parliament have vowed that the US will pay a price for its strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. One top commander says Donald Trump can start the war, but Tehran will end it. Trump launched unprecedented US attacks over the weekend on Iran's key underground uranium enrichment site at Fordo, along with nuclear facilities in Isfahan and Natanz. Top Trump administration officials insist the US is not at war with Iran, but Trump has warned the US could launch more attacks if Tehran does not make peace. Iran has also denounced the US and Israel at an emergency UN Security Council meeting. Iran's ambassador Amir Saeed Arivani addressed the Security Council.
The United States, a permanent member of this council, the depositary of the NPT, and the only state that has ever used nuclear weapons, murdering millions in two cities, has now once again resorted to illegal force, waged a war against my country under a fabricated and absurd pretext, preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons.
Gold is trading at $3,357.16 an ounce. The rand is at 18.04 to the dollar, 24.25 to the pound, 20.75 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $77.82 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Boksburg, we've got an accident on the N12 East right after the R21. It's causing delays all the way through towards Atlas Road. While travelling towards Tembisa, we've got roadworks taking place along the R21 North right near the R25, delays from the R23.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, search and rescue teams have found 2 more bodies in the Eastern Cape, bringing the death toll to at least 94.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
What are the matters that matter to you?
702 listens.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 10 o'clock, Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you for your thoughts on the 702 open line this morning. I really always appreciate your contribution on the open line. So I spoke about a clip of Bill Clinton. There's, of course, a fuller interview that he did. That's the one that I'm going to try and find the link and post it for you. But here's what I was talking about. Bill Clinton, the former US president himself, was talking about the concerns that he has around Benjamin Netanyahu and what he's been doing over the years.
Mr. Netanyahu has long wanted to fight Iran because that way he can stay in office forever and ever. I mean, he's been there most of the last 20 years. But I think we should be trying to diffuse it. And I hope President Trump will do that. I hope anybody there will do that. We've got to stop We got to convince our friends in the Middle East that we'll stand with them and try to protect them. But choosing undeclared wars in which the primary victims are civilians who are not politically involved one way or the other, just want to live decent lives, is not a very good solution. Do I think that we have to try to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon? I do. I tried at that, and we had some success. But we don't have to have all this outright, constant killing of civilians who can't defend themselves and they just want a chance to live.
That's Bill Clinton during an interview. I'll find the full version of it and post it on Twitter. Here's how Iran's foreign affairs minister responded to the attacks by the U.S. and sort of giving us an indication on what could be their next move.
Of course, the door for diplomacy should be always keep open, but this is not the case right now. My country has been under attack, under aggression, and we have to respond based on our legitimate right of self-defense. And we will do that as long as needed and necessary. There is no red line that they have not crossed. And the last one, and the most dangerous one, happened only last night, when they crossed a very big red line by attacking nuclear facilities. I don't know how much room is left for diplomacy. We are now calculating the damages. And as I said, the damages are not only for our nuclear facilities, the damages are for the United Nations Charter.
Yeah, that's what he said. All right, it's 10 minutes now after 10 o'clock. After the break, we're going to be live in Israel. In fact, I'll start with a professor of international affairs at Hamad Bin Khalifa University, just to get a sense from the Middle East, that region, what the potential threats are and what he believes could be the next move of Israel, of Iran, that is.
Welcome to Nando's Customer Care. How can I help you?
Finally, can I actually just speak to the manager? It's about the chicken. Why did you marinate it for 24 hours? 24 hours, 86,400 seconds to marinate. Why? Well, I mean, it is really tender, juicy, and that delicious Nando's peri-peri flavor just warms me up. And then you add any 3 sharing sides, and I guess, well, there is nothing like it. But that is my complaint. I can't complain.
Nando's, fire it up.
Betway's exclusive new games are taking the world by storm. Featuring massive Megaways jackpots. Take your shot on Cash and Riches, Wolf Blaze, Gallo Gold Brunos, and many more incredible experiences for you to choose from. You're guaranteed to find a new ultra fun favorite. Get way more only at Betway. Betway is licensed by the Mpumalanga Economic Regulator. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. NRGP counseling line 0800 006 008. All events are fixed odds betting games.
Hello, welcome to the Crazy Store.
Hello, hi. I would like a refund for the stress ball.
Of course.
I have been squeezing it for 6 days and I'm still totally stressed out.
I see.
These safety pins, they don't work. I pin them to my pants, but they don't make me feel safe. Can I exchange them for this pepper spray?
No problem. The Crazy Store. Our quality promise means we'll replace or refund any of our products that you are not happy with.
Nedbank Business Ignite on 702 is looking for a small business owner that talks a big game and delivers even bigger results. So if you're a small business that consistently dares to innovate, expand and better your bottom line, you could walk away with 200,000 Rand cash and a 200,000 Rand advertising package. So enter on igniteyourbusiness.co.za. Then every day this week from 6 a.m., catch 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa to find out if you're a finalist in Nedbank Business Ignite on 702. T's and C's apply. Nedbank, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
Right, 13 minutes now after 10 o'clock. Let's continue with this global news story. Is Iran going to retaliate following an attack on its nuclear facilities by America? I promised you a conversation with someone in Iran, someone in Israel, and someone in Turkey. So we stay on that region as we find out what is the next potential moves. I want to start with Muhammed Mukhta, who is live to us from Turkey. He's the Professor of International Affairs at Hamad Bin Khalifa University. Prof, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I want us to start with just how the region is responding so far to this attack by the U.S. on Iran's nuclear facilities.
In general, the region is living in fear today because of the reaction or potential reaction from all parties, especially in the Gulf region. People are really scared of what will happen and what kind of move that the Iranians and the Israelis might do, or even the Americans in the coming hours and days.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at this attack so far, do you think that it's been a success? And I'm not just talking about in as far as the attack and the damage on the nuclear infrastructure is concerned, but I'm talking diplomatically here as well, because America says the diplomatic channels must now be open. But does this attack send Iran to the negotiating table in your view, or it sends them away from the negotiating table?
Well, it's very complex situation. The Iranians don't want to go all the way because they might lose everything, especially after the Americans get involved. At the same time, they don't want to give up their nuclear program. Of course, these attacks actually convince them that having nuclear weapons makes sense strategically for them. And that's the only deterrent that they are thinking about now. But at the moment, on the short term, I think they prefer the war to stop and to get the opportunity to build their nuclear program again slowly. Nobody is benefiting. Yes, nobody succeeded so far. Actually, yes, the American damaged the program, the Iranian nuclear program, but they didn't get to the heart of it. The Israelis were also able to kill some of the important Iranian leaders, but they didn't break the back of the Iranian regime. At the same time, Iran proved very resilient and able to create a lot of damage for the Israelis, especially the psychological damage that might affect the Israelis and push part of their population to migrate.
And what about pushing that same population to respond aggressively towards the regime in Iran? Do you think this action by the U.S. somehow consolidates the support against the Iranian regime? Or do you think that in fact it galvanizes support for the Iranian regime? Because the U.S. says, regime change is not really our focus here. I've heard interviews that the Israeli president and I think the prime minister have said, they've also said, we're not really pushing for regime change here. Yes, we think regime change would be a good outcome, but that's not our goal. How do you assess it?
What the Israelis and the Americans wish for is that the regime in Iran will collapse, not a regime change, but a regime collapse. But that's not realistic at this moment. A regime change in the way they've done in Iraq before, it's impossible in Iran. Iran is a huge country, and Americans, of course, cannot send soldiers on the ground. It's very complicated. So they wish for the regime collapse, but I think that's very far. That's really not realistic. The regime in Iran is very strong, and it will continue. The whole issue now is about the nuclear program, and if this war will continue for a while or hopefully will be stopped shortly.
Why? Because some of the listeners on my show this morning were asking, why is Iran not allowed to have nukes? Like, because there are other countries that have nukes. Do you have an answer to that? Why is America and Israel and other countries, for that matter, against Iran having nukes?
Well, that's the traditional Western double standard. It's not new. And the nuclear issue is just another example. Israel has nuclear weapons since the mid-60s. And based on what the experts saying, the Israelis have at least 90 nuclear warheads. None of the other Middle Eastern countries are allowed to have it. But I think this war, if it will lead to anything, it will lead to conviction of all the key countries in the region that they have to have nuclear deterrence. And unfortunately, it looks like we're going to see in the coming years race towards nuclear weapons, not only in Iran, but probably in Turkey and other countries.
Mm-hmm. But then what do you say to this perspective that, well, nuclear weapons would be dangerous under Iran's hands, because these are people who, some of their leaders have consistently chanted death to America, death to Israel. They've had issues with the very existence of Israel as a state. So Israel and the US say, well, nuclear in the hands of a regime that has consistently threatened us is a threat to us.
Well, there is always a gap between rhetoric and reality. The Iranian regime is not suicidal. I think it's very rational. Of course, it has some slogans for local consumption and for all kind of political games. But they are rational. Nobody will use nuclear weapons anyway. Nuclear weapons are not for use. They are not for war. They are for peace. They are for deterrence. They are for balance of power. And I think what we're having in the Middle East is a vacuum of power. It's a huge imbalance of power that is creating all of these wars. Had Iraq, for example, had nuclear weapons, of course, we won't have the American invasion of Iraq, and we will have less wars. And same thing, if Iran had a nuclear weapon today, I think if Iran has a nuclear weapon, it will be much more rational and much more peace, like the peace that we had during the Cold War between the Americans and the Soviets. Probably there is some kind of that peace that will save the Middle East in the future. Unfortunately, if we look at the nuclear weapons as a savior, but unfortunately, that's the case if this kind of wars continue in the region.
Just lastly, what do you think is the best way for Iran to respond? America says if you dare retaliate, you are going to regret it. I mean, of course, there are some U.S. bases in the Middle East, and there are some militia that sort of support the Iranian regime that could be used to go on attack. What do you think is the best way to respond? And should they retaliate against America? Do they retaliate against Israel? Because they're saying we have a right to defend ourselves.
I think what the Iranians think about today is more strategic shift more than retaliation. Their best interest, I believe, is to keep the fight between them and the Israelis. Of course, any kind of attack against American bases or American interests will be harmful for Iran, and actually will be harmful for all, because even the Arab countries of the Gulf also will suffer from that. The American interest, the Chinese interest, everybody's interest. So the best interest for Iran is to keep the fight between them and the Israelis. They can do that for a while. They prove to have very effective missiles that are very damaging for the Israelis. But I don't think the war can continue for long without getting out of control. And what is needed is just to address the deep-rooted problems in the region that cause all of these, and first of all, the Palestinian problem. There is a need for more wisdom and humanity in dealing with the issue, the way South Africa has dealt with. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of wisdom, enough for that wisdom in the region so far.
All right. Muhammad Mukhta, that's Professor Muhammad Mukhta, who is live to us from this region that is now gripped by anxiety and fear, as he says. He's a professor of international affairs at Hamad Bin Khalifa University. And I just thought we should speak to someone who's in the region, who can give us a sense of what the feeling is like in the region. I mean, I saw there were a number of countries that condemned the attack. I mean, Saudi Arabia was urging all parties to exercise restraint. Qatar was warning of catastrophic consequences as well. But other countries have responded, raising concerns about what this means for the region. It's 23 now, after 10.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
Let's take you to Israel now. Tovah Lazaroff is a veteran Israeli journalist who's joining us on the line. Tovah, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
What's the situation like in Israel now? There were some strikes yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday morning following the U.S. attacks. Is there work going on? Are the schools open at this point? What's the situation like?
No, well, right now, people are being told to really stay home because Israel has a very good warning system. It lets everybody know maybe, like 15 or 20 minutes before the missile is going to come so that you know to get close to a safe space. And the idea is that if you can enter a safe space, and that falls into three categories. One would be a stairwell of an apartment building. Also, quite a number of buildings and apartments in Israel have safe rooms, and those are rooms that are designed to withstand a missile attack. Other buildings, like mine, have a bomb shelter in the basement, and then there's a lot of communal shelters. Schools also have shelters. Yeah. Public buildings have shelters. Parking lots are really shelters. Any place that's really fortified. And what Israel is discovering is that as long as people can get to that safe space, they're going to survive a missile attack. So you can see these terrible, pictures of buildings completely bombed out, and yet you'll see a very low injury count relative to the amount of damage. And that's because Israel's a good warning system, and people are really listening and going into shelters. But part of that is to just keep people off the streets. They're telling everybody stay home, only go out if you really need to. Schools are closed. You can't have, large public gatherings. And, supermarkets are open. Some restaurants or coffee shops are open. Okay. Some of them are saying, well, we're only open for takeout. Others, are open, but not that many people are there. So it's, there's very little traffic. Gotcha. You're now learning how small a country Israel is because you can drive very quickly from one space to another. But yeah, most people are really what they call sheltering in place, so to speak. Okay. And trying to out.
Yeah. From what you've heard from the government so far, what is the Prime Minister's plan in the administration there? Is Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, happy about this U.S. intervention? In other words, does his administration still have goals in Iran, or are they happy that the U.S. has intervened and now this sort of settles it?
Well, the going theory had been, that Israel had the capacity to damage Iran's nuclear program, but not the military strength to take it out because you needed a certain kind of a bomb, which the U.S. possesses. So that the idea would be that the U.S. really, in singular strikes, could take out the 3 known nuclear facilities in Iran, and that's really what happened the other night, We weren't sure if the United States was going to come in or not, and what they did is they did very targeted strikes against 3 nuclear facilities, and the hope would have been that would take out Iran's nuclear program. But now what they're seeing is that there's a lot of question, and people don't know how much damage did they really do, and how much in advance of that attack, thinking that the United States might do it, there's a lot of thought that Iran moved, its uranium stockpiles or critical components of its program actually out of those facilities, thereby minimizing the damage. So then the question really becomes, what is left of Iran's nuclear program? What do you do about it? But there's a lot of theory that maybe it has not been eliminated. But Israel's goal here, aside from, eliminating or severely setting back Iran's nuclear program, is also, of course, to take out as much of its conventional missile program, et cetera, as it can, to really minimize the damage that Iran can cause Israel.
What reasons has the Israeli government given for opposing Iran to have to continue with enrichment when in fact Israel itself is allowed to do that? How have they explained that?
Well, Israel, there's nine countries, right, that are believed to possess nuclear weapons, and Israel is believed to possess nuclear weapons, but it itself has never claimed that it does, right? In fact, it has never stated that it is a nuclear weapon state. So that's the first part. If you don't say you have nuclear weapons, then that question becomes not relevant, right? But I think specifically in this case, Iran has threatened to annihilate Israel, and so the idea that it would have the nuclear weapons, that would also make it very possible for Iran to do that. The more, the better its missile program, the better weaponry it has, then the larger the threat. I mean, Israel and Iran have been at war for a while, right? This is just a direct part of that war. But Iran has really been waging a proxy war against Israel and a terror-related war, and it has been supporting and inflaming, regional conflicts to help use those militia groups, say Hezbollah in Lebanon or Hamas in Gaza, to attack Israel. So essentially, if you want to get at the core, if you're Israel, if you want to get at the core of the October 7th attack, right, that could not have happened without Iranian-backed funding. So the October 7th attack is really seen as an attack by Iran on Israel. The Hezbollah jumping in on October 8th is also seen as an Iran attack on Israel, the Houthis in Yemen. In other words, Israel is at war with Iran, and an opening happened with the ability to take, to weaken Hezbollah dramatically, and with the fall of Assad, an opening occurred for Israel to go after Iran's nuclear program and hopefully prevent it from going nuclear in the near future by way of eliminating what it sees as an existential threat against the country.
Yeah, Tovah, just lastly, has Israel ever allowed the International Atomic Energy Agency to come in and make inspections? Because I have seen many interviews that Benjamin Netanyahu has done where he doesn't deny that there are no nuclear weapons in Israel. It feels like he just says he just won't confirm or deny it. So it looks like Israel has taken a policy.
That's what I'm saying. Israel has never claimed to have them. You won't find an Israeli official that says we have a nuclear weapons program, right? You won't find it. They haven't said it, right? And that there is no IEA inspections, but
But why can't they allow the IEA to come and inspect so that there's then a determination, then it's clear, it can be official?
I think for that, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I think they don't operate from the framework that they have a nuclear weapons program. So then there would be no reason for there to be IAEA inspections. But it's a good question. I'm just saying it hasn't. They don't see. I mean, if they did have them, right, then they would see them as defensive only, where they would see, Iran going. I mean, the Islamic regime is one that came in right, with threats against the United States and Israel. Like there wasn't that point where that wasn't there.
Okay, got it. Nova, I'm out of time, but I really appreciate you making time for us. Tovah Lazaroff is live to us from Israel. She's a veteran Israeli journalist. Tovah, that's the name. And that's the question, right? If really they've taken a position not to confirm or deny whether they've got the nuclear facilities, they're doing enrichment themselves, why are you not allowing the International Atomic Energy Agency to come in so that they can make an official declaration? It's 10:33. Swiso has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. We start with news just in. Eastern Cape police have discovered another body during a search for flood victims. This brings to at least 95 the number of people who've died due to torrential rains. Officials say the body of a 15-year-old boy was discovered this morning in Mthatha. A search mission continues for more victims since the province was hit by floods more than 2 weeks ago. Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen will visit the Karen beef feedlots in Heidelberg following an outbreak of the foot and mouth disease. Additional cases have been reported by the company's facilities in Nigel and Albert Falls in KwaZulu-Natal. While the outbreak has sparked concern across the red meat value chain, government has announced a state vaccine rollout plan. And loud explosions have been heard in Jerusalem this morning after the Israeli military said Iran launched a fresh barrage of missiles. Around 10 minutes after announcing the missiles had been identified, the military said additional missiles were launched towards Israel and it has urged people to take cover. Iranian military, on the other hand, and members of parliament have vowed that the US will pay for a price for its strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling in Wren Park Ridge, we've got heavy delays on the N1 North. This is between Gordon Road and Bayes-Nadir Drive. That's due to roadworks that are taking place between these 2 points. Please be on the lookout if you're driving around this area. And also remember that traffic lights at the intersection of Bayes-Nadir Drive and the N1 are also out of order. And at this point, pointsmen are not on duty there. So please be patient and drive with care. If you are traveling on the N12 East, this is in the Boksburg area. We still have got that accident right near Atlas Road. Delays from the R21 turn off. There's also queuing traffic along the R21 North. This is in the Kempton Park area between the R23 and the R25, and that's due to the roadworks that are taking place along this route as well. And if you're traveling in Midrand, delays on Olifantsfontein Road just as you approach the N1 exit. I'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Winter is here, and so are the season's hottest deals. Whether you're powering through early mornings or cozying up on cold nights, Takealot is your one-stop winter shop of heaters, appliances, winter skincare, and everyday essentials. Shop smart, stay warm, and make winter your season with Takealot.
We are woven into the same soil that shapes South Africa. Its dreams, its energy, its promise. These guide us. Together we've built progress. Hand in hand, from the mines to bustling main streets, from one generation to the next. With communities, government and partners, every initiative from healthcare to education, youth empowerment to entrepreneurship lights the way forward. Because we don't just mine minerals, we mine possibility and progress with purpose. Together, we're shaping what's next. Mining potential. Building beyond. Anglo-American.
It all starts with FNB Private. With secure, easy payments for a hassle-free overseas holiday. Tap, swipe or go digital with your FNB Visa cards. Earn rewards when using your FNB credit card or global account debit and virtual card. You can even fund your global account on the FNB app while traveling. Make the most of every moment. Unlock invaluable with FNB Private. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider. TCs, earn rules and limits apply.
Some walks are just for exercise, others for leisure. But this walk is for something greater.
It's team building.
This July, you won't just take a step, you'll take a stand. You'll walk through history. You'll walk with it. On Sunday, 27 July, the 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, returns. It's a route that winds through the heart and soul of our capital city. From the sacred grounds of Freedom Park to the powerful steps of the Union buildings. Choose the 8-kilometer for those walking strong, the 6.7-kilometer in honor of Mandela Month, or the 4-kilometer for families and first-timers. Entries are 360 Rand for adults, 200 Rand for children under 12. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane, is where footsteps become footprints.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
It's 22 minutes before 11 o'clock. Before we get into our next segment, the series that looks at the afterlife and what different belief systems teach about the afterlife, I just want to indicate that, remember, I promised that we will we'll speak to someone in Iran as well. We've been trying. There seems to be network issues there. We were forewarned about the network challenges in Iran. So we've struggled to get the person we wanted to speak to in Iran. But we'll keep trying, and at some point throughout this week, because this is a developing story, I hope the network can hold. And if it means we must maybe pre-record it, we'll do that and bring you a conversation. But yeah, it's been difficult to get in touch with the people in Iran. The network doesn't seem to be stable there, as you can understand, with everything that's going on. So just wanted to give you an update on that, because I didn't just want to speak to someone in Israel or someone in Turkey in that region. I wanted us to be live in Iran as well, but there have been some challenges there with network. 20 minutes now, before 11.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
Okay, time now for the series that we started a couple of weeks ago. In fact, we're nearing the end of the... Is this today the end of the series? It's not the last one. We've got one more. We've got one more to go. And this is a series that we started a couple of weeks ago, looking at what different beliefs say about the afterlife. As I've said many times, we are more than our physical bodies. The human experience is more than this body. And I think all of us need to be curious enough to ask questions about other parts of this human experience, right? Just be curious, whether it's about our spirit, whether it's about our soul, right? People believe in eternal life. Some people believe in reincarnation. I'm always interested in what is the foundation of what people believe, right? I'm always interested at what my human experience entails beyond just this physical body that I look after, and I go to the gym, I wash it, I train. But are we taking care of other parts of our human experience? I suppose this is a question that I've had for a very long time, and I'm doing a lot of reading lately because I'm in that spiritual era where I'm trying to ask these questions and get the answers. So far on this series, we've looked at what the different Christian denominations believe about the afterlife. We've looked at what Islam teaches about the afterlife, looked at what African spirituality say, Judaism, we looked at atheism, agnosticism, we have focused on Buddhism and what it teaches about the afterlife. And today we're looking at Hinduism, and Dr. Lokesh Ramnath Maharaj is the head of the Priests Council of the South African Hindu Mahasabha, who is going to guide us through this conversation. Dr. Maharaj, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clemens. Good morning to the listeners. Thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
So for our listeners that may not be familiar, maybe let's start with laying the foundation for this conversation, and maybe you can start us off by briefly explaining the core principles of Hinduism.
Yeah. So the core, firstly, we need to say that Hinduism has no single founder or a centralized authority. But the core principles are what we refer to as dharma, which means living a life of moral duty, ethics and righteousness. Then we have the law of karma, which is actually the law of cause and effect, meaning that our actions influence our present as well as our future. Then there's a Sanskrit concept referred to as samsara, which actually translates as reincarnation. So this refers to the continuous cycle of birth and death and rebirth. Then another core principle is moksha, or what is referred to as liberation from reincarnation, which actually means union with the divine. Then Hindus also believe in the concepts of Atman and Brahman. So Atman means the eternal soul, which is ultimately this one with the universal soul, which is Brahman. So we believe in the eternal soul and the universal soul, so Atman and Brahman. And then one more aspect that I could refer to is respect for all life. So in other words, it includes non-violence, or what is referred to as ahimsa, reverence for nature, for animals. So in a nutshell, it's a pluralistic tradition. It welcomes multiple paths to spiritual realization. So somebody may use the path of devotion, somebody may use the path of knowledge, or the path of action, but all these paths are incorporated, and any one of them, Hindus believe, will lead to spiritual realization.
We'll come back to reincarnation and karma in a moment.
Yes.
What do you believe in Hinduism? What does it teach about what happens immediately after someone dies?
So, in fact, the idea is deeply philosophical when it comes to the view of life and death. So, firstly, life is seen not as a one-time occurrence, but it is seen as a part of a vast cosmic cycle. So death is not an end. It is actually a transition. It is a doorway to another existence. And this view, which we can say is a historical view in Hinduism, what it does is it fosters patience, it fosters spiritual introspection, and it also fosters a sense of continuity across generations. So basically, it is not a one-time occurrence.
Yeah, so. Are we aware though? So if you say it's not a one-time occurrence, are we aware though when you reincarnate, for lack of a better word? Like, is there an awareness of, I have lived a life previously in this context and now this is reincarnation?
So the belief is there. We don't remember the specifics of previous births. So that goes into another highly philosophical discussion about Maya, which is illusion. So this world is an illusion. And once we come into contact with this illusory world, we forget the previous births. But ultimately, we do understand that we are what we are now as a result of previous actions that we may have performed, either in this life or in a previous life.
Okay. So in Hindu belief, is there a final destination then? I mean, if there's that continuing cycle, is there a final destination or an end to the cycle of rebirth?
Yes, there is. The final destination is referred to as moksha, or liberation. And this is the ultimate release from the cycle of rebirth. And that is what we refer to as the union with the divine. So, in effect, what this means is that the soul gets what is referred to as spiritual freedom and eternal peace. So once the soul achieves moksha, once it achieves this final destination, it is no longer subject to karma, which is actions, nor is it subject to rebirth. So there is a final destination.
Okay. And how do these beliefs about the afterlife influence the way Hindus live their daily lives?
Yeah. So the belief in karma, the belief in rebirth, in reincarnation, it should encourage Hindus to live ethically, to live with compassion, to have humility, to have self-discipline, because we need to strive to act righteously, or if I use the Sanskrit term, to act according to dharma. We must. It encourages us to seek inner growth, to avoid causing harm. So that is, I think, an important part of this belief in the afterlife. So Hindus ought to have a deep awareness that life is sacred, that actions have consequences, and that spiritual progress is a lifelong journey. So these are the ways in which the beliefs about afterlife influence the way in which we live our daily lives. So we should actually be living ethically. We should be living, we should have compassion not only to human beings, but to all of nature's creations. And we should always exercise humility, because all these things will determine the future journey of the soul.
It's 12 minutes now before 11 o'clock. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'd like to bring in some of our listeners who've got some inputs, Dr. Maharaj, who have got some questions as well. You can call on 011-883-0702. What do you know about life after death in Hinduism? Maybe you're a Hindu yourself, and there's something you want clarified, or maybe you're not Hindu, but you've got a question around what Hindus believe and how they view death and what they believe about life after death and this cycle of reincarnation and karma. You can give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct, to give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Need the right tools to run your small business? Well, with Nedbank, you get the latest Visa, MasterCard, and Amex accepting card payment device delivered to you within 48 hours. Enjoy getting your payment straight into your Nedbank account on the same day. Plus, you could get 100% back on the purchase price of the device. Apply on the Nedbank Money app today. Join the bank that's best for your small business. Nedbank, licensed financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Hey, honey, look. Went to the shops, like you asked, and it was the Deco Fern birthday sale. Picked up this amazing 3-seater sofa for only $5,599. And this coffee table, just $489. Oh, and this gorgeous standing mirror for like $699.
Wow, I just asked you to get some milk.
Get deals worth celebrating at Deco Fern Furniture's epic birthday sale with 10 to 40% and more of everything in-store or online now at decofurnsa.co.za.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
All right, 9 minutes now before 11 o'clock. Dr. Lokesh Ramnath Maharaj is the head of the Priests' Council of South Africa, of the South African Hindu Mahasabha. He is speaking to us about what Hinduism teaches about the afterlife. This is part of our series that we started. We've been running this for a number of weeks now. And we've been looking at what different beliefs teach about the afterlife. And today we're focusing on Hinduism. I've got a number of questions that are coming through. Dr. Maharaj, I'll just read some of them and I'm hoping you're able to respond to some. I've got a message here from Anonymous who says, Clement, please can you ask Dr. Maharaj about what the views and the beliefs of Hinduism are around committing suicide. What happens to people who commit suicide? That's a question from Anonymous.
Okay. So, you see, every individual has to undergo what we refer to as the law of karma. So we actually, for lack of a better word, pay for the actions that we perform. And when somebody commits suicide, you are depriving yourself of the opportunity to fulfill all your karmas, to fulfill all your debts, so to speak. So in other words, you're cutting short a life that could have been used to improve yourself spiritually, to help the soul to elevate itself. And therefore, Hinduism discourages the taking of one's life. It's not something that is looked upon favorably, and it's actually against the whole idea of suicide. Because what you are doing is you are depriving yourself the opportunity of fulfilling all the duties that you would have had you lived for a longer period.
Okay. Another question is, does one rebirth as a human only? How many rebirths before the soul finds peace?
So, according to Hindu scriptures, there are 8,400,000 different species of life into which one can be born. But only the human birth is suited to achieving liberation or achieving moksha. So human birth is achieved through many years of good karma, good actions. And so once we have attained the human birth, we should not waste it by engaging in activities that will prevent us from crossing over this ocean of birth and death. So, according to the scriptures then, we could be born in different species, starting right from the lowest form of worms, etc., and we then work ourselves up to this highest rung, which is the human birth. So I hope I'm answering the question. Yes, we do go through different species in life, and ultimately, as a result of the good deeds that we perform, the soul then enters into a human body.
Another question is are there specific rituals or ceremonies in Hinduism that are performed when someone passes away? And what are those intended for?
Yes, so there are specific rituals. Firstly, if we look at death itself, the body is bathed, it's dressed in clean clothes, and then quite often it is cremated. And then, of course, for a period of 10 to 13 days after the death, there are certain last rites that are performed. This is to serve two purposes. One is those who are living, believe that by performing these last rites for those number of days, we are guiding the soul to its next journey. But it is also intended to give us, as the living family, closure. So when we perform these ceremonies in which we are honoring the person that has passed on, it helps us to come to terms with the loss of a loved one. So that's immediately now when death occurs. But there are also annual rituals that Hindus perform. So, for example, there's a full fortnight around September, October each year, which is set aside to honor ancestors who have passed on. And so those are also rites which then keep us connected with our ancestors. It keeps the ancestral connection alive, but it also gives us solace. It gives us some kind of comfort that we have not forgotten the what you call the ancestors. So it actually, the rituals help us in what is an otherwise helpless situation. So the rituals actually give us an opportunity to come to terms with that which has happened.
And how do you stay connected to the ancestors?
So for example, we have a concept called tarpan, which is actually the offering of water oblations in the names of our ancestors. So we offer this water, and in a sense we are saying that may the benefits of this water, because we know the water itself cannot reach those ancestors, may the benefits of this water satisfy the ancestor. So we do have these rituals. We also then donate food to the indigent in the names of our ancestors. That's another way in which we... So in fact, many of the social practices of helping others out in the name of ancestors is one way in which we remember them, in which we keep their memories alive within us.
All right. Dr. Lokesh Ramnath Maharaj, thank you for making time for us and helping us understand more around Hinduism and what it teaches about the afterlife. It's 2 minutes now before 11.
If you knew the future, you'd be brave. Well, now you can be with Volvo's guaranteed future value. Get your EX30 from 9,999 per month, and after 48 months, return, upgrade or keep. It's safe to be brave with Volvo. Based on 6.13% interest, 48-month term, 10% deposit and 52% GFE. Initiation fee of 127.50 and monthly service fee is 69 Rand. Total cost of credit is 904,500. Finance officer subject to approval from Volvo Car Finance, a product of Westbank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. NCRCP 20. T's and C's apply.
Want to celebrate Women's Day in style? Then get your tickets at Grammy Award-winning singers Anthony Hamilton and Joe Thomas. They're coming together to celebrate the incredible women of Mzansi on the 9th of August, happening at the iconic DP World Wanderers Stadium in Sandton. They'll be joined by South Africans, multi-award-winning singers, the incomparable Zonkes, Java, and Vusinova. Get your tickets now on CompuTicket or webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by Soulful Night, Vetex Events, and 702.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Eastern Cape Police have discovered another body during a search for flood victims. This brings to at least 95 the number of people who have died due to torrential rains. Officials say the body of a 15-year-old boy was discovered this morning in Mthatha. A search mission continues for more victims since the province was hit by floods more than 2 weeks ago. Gift of the Giver's head of search and rescue, Ahmed Bam.
They found one more body now this morning, the South African Police Services Air Wing. It's a male patient plus minus, it's actually a child plus minus about 15 years old.
A suspect linked to the murder of 8 people in Umlazi will make his first court appearance today in KwaZulu-Natal. The people were shot at an informal settlement last month. 6 people were killed in the same area in 2021. Nhlanhla Mabaso has more.
Police spokesperson Robert Nechunda says the suspect was arrested in Umlazi this past weekend.
Police acted on a tip-off from a community member, and the suspect was found at his hideout spot at Mhlabeni Informal Settlement in Umlazi.
Police say the suspect also had a warrant of arrest issued against him for a November 2024 case of pointing of a firearm. The KwaZulu-Natal provincial government has since blamed such cases on the availability of illegal firearms. Acting Police Provincial Commissioner Major General Phumelele Makhoba also raised concerns about such incidents. She has since appointed a team to thoroughly probe this case. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Umlazi, south of Durban.
Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen is visiting the Karen beef feedlot in Heidelberg following an outbreak of the foot and mouth disease. Additional cases have been reported in the company's facilities in Nigel and Albert Falls. While the outbreak has sparked concern across the red meat value chain, government says there's a state vaccine rollout plan. Thandoluhle Ngobo has more.
The foot and mouth disease outbreak has dealt a major blow to the beef industry, with cases confirmed in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and most recently the Northwest Province. The Agriculture Department has ordered over 900,000 vaccine doses from the Botswana Vaccine Institute, with initial deliveries expected soon. Officials say the vaccination drive aims to contain the current outbreak and strengthening long-term prevention measures. Today's visit will begin with a briefing from the Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development's Veterinary Services Unit, outlining the province's response measures and strategies to contain the spread of the disease. Thando Ngcobo, Eyewitness News.
And loud explosions have been heard in Jerusalem this morning after the Israeli military said Iran launched a fresh barrage of missiles. Around 10 minutes after announcing the missiles had been identified, the military said additional missiles were launched towards Israel and has urged people to take cover. Meanwhile, the Iranian military officials and members of parliament have vowed that the US will pay a price for its strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. One top commander says Donald Trump can start the war, but Tehran will end it. Trump launched unprecedented US attacks over the weekend on Iran's key underground uranium enrichment sites at the Fordo, along with nuclear facilities in Isfahan and Natanz. Iran has also denounced the US and Israel at an emergency UN Security Council meeting, and Iran's ambassador Amir Saeed Aravani addressed the council.
The United States, a permanent member of this council, the depositary of the NPT, and the only state that has ever used nuclear weapons, murdering millions in two cities, has now once again resorted to illegal force, waged a war against my country under a fabricated and absurd pretext, preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons.
Gold is trading at $3,357.16 an ounce. The rand is at 18.04 to the dollar, 24.25 to the pound, 20.75 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $77.82 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Boksburg, we still have got major traffic delays along the N12 East. This is due to a major accident seen after the R21. The delays are between Croft Road and Snake Road. As a result, the road has been closed off to traffic. Do expect about a 30-minute hold up along this route. And if you're traveling in Edenville, we've got an accident on the R24 East. It happened after the Gilulis interchange, causing delays.
A fine day in store for Gauteng today. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: Eastern Cape Police have discovered another body during a search for flood victims.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Entries to the 702 Walk the Talk are open. Go to primemediaplus.com to get your tickets today.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
6 minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. Time for our Family Matters feature.
702
Family Matters.
So I'm excited about today's conversation because it also follows up from a conversation that I had, or an event that I attended this past weekend. I had the honor and privilege of emceeing the Gentleman's Brunch. It happened at Signature Restaurant here in Sandton. It was on Saturday. And this was an event where basically gentlemen gathered to talk. We cried, we laughed, we were challenged, we were inspired. There's a lot that happened. We had speakers that really shared a story, spoke about the importance and the need for us as men to be vulnerable, spoke about fatherhood, spoke about affection towards our kids, spoke about affection in front of our children. And I'm so glad that it's followed by this important conversation about showing affection to and around your kids? Are you a parent that is intentional about showing affection to your kids, whether you grew up being shown that affection or not? Do you and your partner show affection to each other in front of your kids, and how have they been affected by that? How has that affected how they relate with each other, how they relate with other people? Because affection is one of the most important tools a parent can offer a child. It plays a vital role in shaping a child's emotional well-being, their sense of security, just their overall development. I mean, when children are shown love and warmth, they begin to understand that they are valued. They begin to feel safe. They feel supported. So the way parents interact with each other in front of their children does play a powerful role in shaping how those children understand love, how they understand connection and emotional safety. So demonstrating that affection openly does provide children with a living example of what healthy relationships look like. So what we're going to do this morning is just talk about why that is so important. Because there are some parents who are struggling with showing affection in front of their kids. But more so parents who are struggling with showing affection to their own children because they are coming from a different generation. Their own parents were raised them differently. So how do you navigate all of that? We've got Debbie House, who's a clinical psychologist, who's going to be guiding us through this conversation. But I also want to hear from you. Whether you grew up being nurtured in that way or not, where love was expressed in front of you, or where you had parents showing you affection as a child, whether or not that was your experience. How are you raising your kids today? Do you show them affection? How intentional are you about also showing affection with your partner or your spouse in front of your kids? Do you kiss? Do you hug? Do you hold hands in front of your kids? Do you show affection towards your partner in front of the kids? Let me know your thoughts on that and how you think it's impacted your children and how they relate with other people. You can call us on 011-883-0702 or send a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. Debbie, welcome back to the show. Thank you for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thanks so much.
So how does a consistent display of affection between parents contribute to a child's development? How significant is that?
The affection that adults show to each other, it also depends on the dynamics between the adults. Because if the adults are showing affection because they are needy to get their own needs met, it can mean that they actually are still operating the level of a wounded child, looking for the love of a parent. So it also depends on the emotional balance of the adults and their motivations for the affection. Because ideal role models as parents need to be giving affection in a way where they're very balanced emotionally in themselves. Because otherwise they'll give the message to the children that affection is a way to heal your own emotional wounds rather than just a display of love. So it does depend a large extent on the emotional balance of both adults as to how much it's going to impact on the children and as to how it's going to impact on the children. Depends on their emotional state of balance.
So what role then because we've spoken now about the affection in front of the children, what about the affection towards the children? Is there benefit for the child?
A child does need physical, emotional, mental, obviously, and spiritual, love and affection in all ways. So there has to be a balance between how much affection is shown between, husbands and wives or couples, so that the child doesn't often feel left out if it's not equal and aligned with the child. But the child does need that physical bonding and affection in a way, but it's got to be from an adult that's very mature. Sometimes adults give affection to the child because they're actually wanting it back in return to cater to their needs. not to give it to the child. They're actually doing it with an agenda on another level to heal their own wounds, which haven't been healed, of the need for affection.
So can seeing that affection though help children understand sort of the emotional expression and empathy, and now this is parent affection now, because I mean I often speak about that. I didn't grow up seeing that kind of affection, and I used to think the reason maybe I'm not an affectionate person is because that's not what I grew up seeing. So as a result, I didn't understand that kind of emotional expression and empathy even at that level. But I've got siblings who grew up with me in the same household, but they are very affectionate. And I often wonder, why am I the odd one out? What happened to me? Maybe I'm the firstborn. So.
Yeah, it does imprint on you when you don't see it.
Yeah.
Especially and generationally, these patterns do get passed down. Where if the parent was witness to a cold environment where emotionally you have to go numb to cope, then that can be passed down. But to answer the question of why some siblings adopt different styles, each person has a different way of interpretation of the reality based on a lot of the factors inherent in how they perceive the world. Everybody perceives it in a different way. So, but ideally, affection is important both in the role model of the parents and towards the children. But as we said before, it's very important that they all need to be balanced in a way where they're very mature.
Yeah.
And then it's able to imprint on the child more balance.
And speaking of balance, how much affection is appropriate to display in front of children? Like how much PDA is too much?
Obviously, it has to be within the boundaries of not overstepping the boundaries too much. But then again, it depends on how much the adult is emotionally secure in themselves as to how much to do. Because it's to always remind yourself that sometimes the child can feel left out, or they start often getting sibling rivalry even with a parent. Sometimes if the mother is very affectionate to the father and there's a dynamic there that's out of balance, the child can start feel threatened by that, or feel left out, or start to feel that it has to also add to giving the love to the other person to get it. Yeah.
So how does showing that affection then to the children help build that secure attachment between the parent and the child? And sometimes, and I ask that because sometimes the children themselves are uncomfortable with affection being shown from their parents. And I don't know where they get that, but you've got some children who don't like it when mommy wants to kiss their forehead, or who find it
Sometimes
weird
children
or awkward when mommy says or daddy says, I love you, sleep well.
A child often knows the unconscious state of the adults.
Yeah.
And if the child doesn't trust that the adult is mature, or the child might pick up that the adult hasn't healed their own emotional wounds, then they won't be able to receive it, because they'll feel unconsciously that it's coming from a person who's actually emotionally still not stable. So a child often picks up the unconscious patterns of both parents. And so it senses the authenticity of it, the intentions behind it. And if it's not coming from an adult that's stable, the child will often reject it. And the child will often try and be the strong one for the adult and try and give it to the adult instead. But sometimes there can be a distortion with an association of affection going with love, especially in the cases of abuse, where sometimes that's confused, where the adult will impose the affection on the child, but it has obviously negative connotations. And that can distort the child's perception where affection and love go together when it's abusive. But that can set the precedence for later in life, where they will look for abusive cycles and create that, thinking it's a form of love without recognizing that it is distorted. So there's a lot of those dynamics that can come in as well.
Okay. It's 17 minutes after 11 o'clock. So we've sort of laid the foundation with Debbie House, who's a clinical psychologist, looking at the importance of showing affection to your children, showing affection around your kids. We're going to take a quick ad break. When we come back, I really would like to hear from you. What have been your own experiences? Do you kiss and hug and hold hands in front of your kids? Do you show affection to your kids? And what have you seen as the impact of that? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. Maybe you've got a question for Debbie on how you can start showing that affection if this is something you've been struggling with. Or maybe your children are not so receptive to that affection you show them and you want to find ways to try and align with them. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702.
We are woven into the same soil that shapes South Africa. Its dreams, its energy, its promise. These guide us. Together, we've built progress hand in hand, from the mines to bustling main streets, from one generation to the next. With communities, government, and partners, every initiative from healthcare to education, youth empowerment to entrepreneurship lights the way forward. Because we don't just mine minerals, we mine possibility and progress with purpose. Together, we're shaping what's next, mining potential, building beyond. Anglo-American.
Mom, Dad, you're not gonna believe this.
What's up, bud?
Luke's family has a kitchen.
Okay.
Like a real one, with knives and a sink for dishes. His mom was just standing there, making food with her hands. There was a fridge full of vegetables, even broccoli.
Not broccoli.
Oh, the horror. Who needs a kitchen? Simply spend 200 Rand or more and you could win Simply Asia for a year. T's and C's apply. Simply Asia, connecting the Thai way.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult day 3731. I'm really struggling to explain my parents to my therapist. Might send him to live with them so he can see for himself. What if he ends up in therapy too? Wait, what if they love him more than me?
Finally learning about mental health. Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's convenient and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
Hi there, I am Amahle, a stem cell donor. What started out as curiosity turned into an opportunity for me to save a life. Naturally, I was taken aback when I was found to be a match for a patient in need. In South Africa, over 4,000 people die of blood cancer each year. I donated stem cells and I was able to give someone else a second chance at life. Register to become a stem cell donor at kmsafrica.org so you too can be a lifesaver.
The time to honor our past and step into a shared future as a team is here. Corporate hospitality and team entries for this year's 702 Walk the Talk are still open. Gather your colleagues together on Sunday, the 27th of July, to walk through the historic Freedom Park heritage site, past the national landmarks, and finish at the Union Buildings. To book hospitality, email hospitality@raceoffice.co.za. For corporate entries, visit primemediaplus.com. 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park Heritage Site in the city of Tshwane, where footsteps become footprints.
702
Family Matters.
20 minutes after 11 o'clock, we are talking about the importance of showing affection to your children, the importance of showing affection in front of your children, with your spouse, with your partner. How do you navigate that? Let's start with Rodney, who's calling us from Mamelodi. Rodney, how are you doing?
I'm okay, thanks. And you, sir?
I'm all right, man. Go ahead.
Yes, I have been married for 25 years. And I came to realize that every time when my wife and I are fighting, the children are getting affected. Then my wife and I decided to change that and start to be lovely, bubbly, and start to joke around them, kissing each other, and you would see the glow. I've got 4 kids. You would see the glow in your kids. You would see that, they are so happy. Even when they come from school and they are stressed with whatever that they are stressed with at school. But finding me and my wife sitting down together, having a chat, kissing each other and hugging each other, it's bringing joy and love and the affection that you are talking about. It grows and it becomes now the family becomes something healthier. Why? Because you have practiced on how to be to be a husband who's in affection with a wife in front of them. So I would like to believe that it works, and it works very well, and I saw that. And it even enhances my relationship with the kids. Now they are more open to me because they can see that, oh, Papa orata Mama. So, if Papa orata Mama, then it's easier for me also to be loved by Papa because he or she saw that in the Papa, in the Papa in me, you see.
Yeah, no, got it.
Yes,
Rodney,
yes.
thank you so much for sharing that with us. Let's go to some WhatsApp voice notes as well.
Morning, Clem, and your guest, Tato here. I have a question. So, my parents never really did a lot of PDA. I mean, they were affectionate in terms of calling each other pet names and whatever else, but I never saw any physical affection between them. So I never saw it at home. But I was also scared of girls in primary school. But in the playground, when we played kiss catch, because the rule of the game was simple, if the girls chase the guys or the guys chase the girls, if you catch one, you give them a kiss and then you run off again and you go for the next person. We played all of those games, and 80s TV didn't do a lot of like raunchy scenes of PDA. But from the minute I started dating when I was 14, I've always been a PDA kind of person. My love language is touch and etc. Where could that be coming from?
Yeah, great question there. So you do have, Debbie, some people who say, I didn't really see it that much, that PDA from my parents, either between them or towards me. And yet, when I started dating, I gravitated more towards those expressions. How do we explain that?
Often it's searching and yearning for that physical affection that might have been missing in early childhood. So we turn to others to try and get that needs met as well. But it's still trying to heal that sense of lack of physical connection and love and support that you either don't witness or feel. Then we do turn outside to try and get that need met.
And we got a call also earlier on, someone who says, we've been together with my wife for 25 years and they're seeing the impact on the children in that when they are showing that affection amongst each other, that makes the children happy as well. You can see the mood changes in the household. But then what happens when there are disagreements? Debbie, because you also don't want parents who are going to be performative, right? Just because you've decided that we constantly have to show love towards each other, and then you become performative around it just for the purpose of getting the mood positive in the household. How do parents then navigate those moments when there are disagreements and when the kiss is not going to come because somebody else is angry? How do they navigate that?
Yeah, because then they're associating an illusion with affection, where, as you say, it's performative. So the child will start associating illusions, deception, and physical affection, where they learn, do it, but inside you don't feel it. So then they start to pick up that there's no depth to it if there's still underlying conflict that hasn't been resolved. Affection can also be habitual, where they just kiss each other goodbye every morning, but it's not really got depth of emotional connection. So all these imprint on the child to associate love and illusions going together, which will sometimes what they'll attract or they'll repeat later in their own lives. So ideally, the affection needs to be congruent with what they're feeling inside and what's happening outside. So there's no pretense or doing it in order just to appease the children. It has to have a lot more depth to have elegant impact.
Yeah. Octavius, you're calling us from Mpumalanga. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Hey, Tara. Shosho, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm very interested in listening quite attentively. I just wanted to check, Clement, because I have a small daughter who's 1 year, 8 months. I show her so much affection. She does the same. But should I be worried or should I be scared if maybe when she grows up, she abengati uba weak, or maybe just because maybe it's just going to be a matter of, no, my dad is there, will always be there for me. should I be worried?
So you're worried that it may spoil the child?
That maybe the child will be spoiled or something like that because I'm a new father. I'm scared.
Yeah, no, got you, Octavius. Especially because some of the parents, back in the day, didn't show affection, and the basis was they want to toughen us up, especially us as gents. Debbie.
Sorry, Clement, I lost connection. I didn't fully hear the gentleman what he was saying.
So Octavius,
summarize.
Yeah. So Octavius is a 1-year-old, and he has been showing the child affection, but he's a bit worried that as the child grows, she may be weaker, for lack of a better word. So he's worried that am I not spoiling her too much because I do show her affection, and I worry that that doesn't really make her strong. And I gave an example of how some fathers particularly used to say that I don't show my children too much affection because I want to toughen them up. If you show them too much affection, then you make them too soft and they're going to be weak as they grow up. And that's the concern that Octavius has.
No, you're right. Often it can have the opposite effect where you do give them a lot of affection. It starts to give them a deeper sense of self. It helps their self-concept, their self-ego, especially a daughter needs a lot of the affection of the father to develop their own self-esteem so that when they grow up, they're more secure in their own sense of self. So a lot of affection, a lot of reassurance that is genuine can really rebuild the child's sense of self. It's important to note that sometimes fathers do give a lot of affection to their daughters, except when they turn around about 16 or 17 when they go through puberty and adolescence, and then often they retreat. And that can have detrimental effects to the teenager who starts to believe they're being rejected when they're maturing. So it's to keep a consistent level of affection all the way through, even through their puberty and all that, so that they don't take it personally. But it can build a strong sense of self, the affection. They need that.
Okay. Fascinating. It's going up to 11:30. We're going to get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. When we come back, we'll continue with your calls and your WhatsApps as well. How do your children receive the affection that you show them? How do they respond to the affection that you show your own partner in the household? Do you demonstrate affection amongst each other? And what impact have you seen in your family? Share your thoughts with us. If you've got questions for Debbie House, who's a clinical psychologist, maybe you want to start finding ways to build that relationship with your children. You just don't know where to begin because you don't know how to show affection. Maybe Debbie can give you some tips on where to begin. Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. Mbali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. We begin in the Eastern Cape, where search teams are continuing with operations to try and find people who may have been swept away by water in the recent flooding. In an update this morning, authorities confirmed that 2 more bodies have been found, bringing the death toll to 95. According to aid organisation Gift of the Givers, a local resident spotted the bodies and immediately contacted authorities. Auditor General Tsakani Maluleke has called for transparency in the handling of public funds at state institutions. Maluleke says it's important for leaders in public service to uphold the rule of law. She has been addressing the high-level political dialogue on the review of the 1998 White Paper on Local Government in Midrand today. And President Cyril Ramaphosa believes democratic order is still in good health in the country despite various challenges being faced. Ramaphosa says this year marks a bold new chapter in the country's journey from apartheid to a democracy, as it's been 30 years since the Constitutional Court convened for the first time. He was writing in his weekly newsletter where he says the Apex Court's humanistic approach to law over the last 3 decades should be a source of pride. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
The CWN traffic is brought to you by cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you. Amo, how are the roads looking?
Well, Clement, if you're traveling in Bedfordview, we've got an accident reported on the N3 North. It happened before the Kilulis interchange. Delays from Van Buren Road. Well, heading towards Bedfordview, do expect delays on the R24 and the N12 West between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. Staying in the east, we've got delays on the N12 East. This is heading towards Boksburg due to a major accident seen before the R21. As a result, the road has been closed off to traffic there. Please expect about a 30-minute hold up if you're traveling along this route. While traveling in the belt of Tehran Park, we've got an accident scene reported on the N1 North. It happened near Bayers Nodia Drive. Delays from 14th Avenue, and there's also slow-moving traffic along the R21 North. This is just as you head towards Tembisa, and that's due to roadworks that are taking place along this route. Please be on the lookout and drive with care. Otherwise, I'm Amo Ramila Karabujali. We'll have your next traffic update. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Hey, Jim, what's wrong? Hi, Bob. I'm just so confused. I'm trying to buy a car, and I don't know where to stop. Well, have you tried to... Cars.coza. Have you tried to... Cars.coza. Sorry, we're trying to do an advert.
Whatever car you want to buy or sell, cut through the and just go to cars.coza and let's find what moves you. Cars.coza.
Mzansi Ballet's finest come together in one spectacular show, Fusion of Favorites, a unique and highly anticipated performance set to take place at Peter Turin Monte Cassino Theatre from the 19th to the 27th of June. The performance will also feature the world premiere of Vincent Mansue's song of Kudugo, or Exodus, as well as new works by Angela Revi. There are only 4 shows, so get your tickets now before they sell out. Secure yours at webtickets.co.za.
Feel the thunder. South Africa, the countdown is on. Saturday, 5th July, the Thunder of Hooves returns to Hollywood Bets Greyville Racecourse for the 129th running of the Hollywood Bets Durban July. Feel the pulse pounding horse racing action as the continent's top thoroughbreds race for glory. A vibrant celebration of culture, champions, and the pursuit of greatness. Who will take the title? Tickets are galloping away. Grab yours now at Ticket Pro. The Hollywood Bates Durban July, Africa's greatest horse racing and social event.
Kickstart your small business with a starter bundle from Nedbank. Enjoy free transactions for 6 months, including free cash deposits and withdrawals and a free debit card with easy digital access and a dedicated banker to guide you along every step of the way. Open a Nedbank starter bundle with SA's best bank for SMEs. Apply on the Money app today. Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Coming up
on 702 Afternoons with Relebogile Maboja.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're going to continue our conversation in a moment around showing affection in front of your children, showing affection towards your children, and why that is so important. Debbie House has explained why it's so crucial and the impact that it has on just that emotional expression, the empathy, the impact that it has on your own children, right? When they see affection, from between their parents, when they see affection towards them, that contributes to a child's emotional regulation and mental well-being. And I've been asking you if you show that affection to your children, you show it in front of your children, and what kind of impact have you seen? Before we continue with that chat, let's find out what's coming up on 702 Afternoons with Relebogile Maboja. How are you doing, Relebogile?
Hey, happy Monday, Clement. I'm good, and you?
I'm good. What's popping vandag?
Coming up on the show, we are going to have movies and what you stream with Phil and Pela, and then we're going to have our travel feature. We're talking about the rise of the slow winter getaways in South Africa. Gabby Brondani will join us for that. The second half of the show, Parenting and Parents feature, we're going to pick up on a conversation we started last week, which is around teen fathers and the invisible side of teenage parenthood from the perspective of the boys involved. Andrew Gegai is a social worker, will join us for that conversation. Dr. Chris Smith with the Naked Scientist will also join us to take all science-related questions. But we kick off with a very, very simple question for this Youth Month, which is, what are the things that you did as a youth or a young person that your parents and aunts and uncles just did not understand? And what are the things that young people do now that you will never understand?
Okay, that's what's coming up on 7:02 afternoons with Relebogile Mabotja between 1 and 3 p.m.
702 Family Matters.
Okay, let's continue our conversation now. Let's start with some of your calls and WhatsApps. Moses, you're calling us from Orange Grove. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and your guest. How are you?
Good, brother. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Just a disclaimer, I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome. We love first-time callers.
Thank you. I have a question. Look, I have a son who's turning 8 years this year. I don't stay with him. I take him on weekends. But I used to call him each and every day, like religiously. But then I remember dating this other lady who would call her parents, and both of them are still alive, individually each and every day. And I think I have since decided to stop calling my son daily, because for me that was a bit too attached in a way, if I can put it like that. Because I'm thinking, I might not necessarily be always there, but now if it's in his routine to talk to me daily, I'm scared of that. Am I sort of justified or what?
Yeah, got it. Moses, thank you. Great question there. Debbie?
Yeah, because it's good to be aware, because often if it's been done to you in some form, then you kind of feel that it's a little bit invasive. But when it's the other way around, from a father to a child, sometimes it's different, because a child does need that presence, that consistency, even if it's just a message, I'm thinking of you, or something, just because a child thrives on consistency, stability, or even if you don't call him every day, just to let him know, I'll be calling you on this day at this time or whatever, so that they don't start taking things personally and wondering, because otherwise they feel like it's a gamble, and then they start making associations that, oh, you'll only phone me if I did well at school, or if I'm a good boy or whatever. So however you do consistency, that's what they need to really feel safe, and that they are loved unconditionally no matter what. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go to your WhatsApp on 0727021702.
Morning, Clement. I've got a 12-year-old son, and I don't really show affection in front of him. I don't know why, but I don't know if it's the fact that I'm married to his stepdad and not his actual dad, or just how we were raised, where I've never seen my parents being like loving each other that way. I'm not sure what the issue is. And yeah, sure, great topic. KB from Prineville.
Yeah, thank you very much, KB. One of the questions I'm getting, Debbie, from some of our listeners is where to begin. So there are some that are saying we were raised by parents, who came from a completely different generation. They had a different way of parenting. There was not a lot of affection, and that has affected how they raise their own children. So where do parents begin? For those who are listening to you now talk about these benefits and how important this is for even emotional regulation, how important it is for children to see the parents show affection amongst each other, how important it is for parents to show affection towards them, but they just don't know where to start. Any tips you can give them?
Yeah, especially if in early childhood they didn't receive affection, and sometimes they don't trust it, that it's actually got pure intent. So it becomes a survival mechanism to actually retreat or to not receive it. And if they aren't able to receive at a later stage, then it's going to also affect how you give affection and receive it. So those are the places to start with in your own being, where often the best way to do it is to go and imagine giving affection to your own inner child, is to find areas in your life where you might have needed it in past situations. And just to imagine going there as the adult, holding your own inner child, reconnecting that bridge between the adult and the child with love that's unconditional by starting in your own emotional functioning within you. Once it's healed within the adult, then the adult is able to receive it and then be that role model and give it to the child as well. But it does start within each individual by themselves, healing their own bridges that were broken in early childhood, where connection through affection is safe or available, because otherwise it becomes a security safety mechanism to just avoid it and not bring it in.
There's a question about as a step parent. This anonymous who says, Clement, ask Debbie there, what do I do as a step parent? How do I show affection? I've known the child for 14 years now.
It also depends on the depth to which if it's a step parent, that the other parent, the biological parent, is comfortable with that as well. But ideally, a child does need affection from both adults, from both parents. So it's to also discuss that with each other as a couple, as to how much they're comfortable with it with the children, and then to do it in whatever is comfortable without forcing it, to allow it also just to spontaneously flow. If there's a lot of dynamics of anger or family patterns and themes that are coming up, it's also going to compromise the affection to be displayed with a lot of sincerity. So that also needs to be healed.
There was a follow-up question. Remember, in the previous half hour, I asked about what happens when the parents are having a fight, and there's something, because there will be conflict in any relationship, in any marriage, so that parents are not also performative. Now there's toxic positivity in the household, because sometimes children can really see, as you had indicated, Debbie, when you are being fake around your emotions. So you don't want parents to just also pretend like everything is fine, even when everything is not fine. So there was a follow-up question around if what you used to do, the children are used to you kissing their mom or dad in the morning before they leave for work, even in cases of disagreements, does that affection now stay because it's important for consistency, especially given that the kids are watching, or does it not? And that opens up perhaps an opportunity to have a conversation with the kids. But also, do you want to really take the kids through every single conflict you have, even though you don't explain what you're fighting about, but to constantly go back and say, well, mommy and daddy are not okay today? How do you deal with that?
That is quite a good question, because you're right, transparency as to the kids, that you're right, we are having a bad day today, but then it's always to try and as the parents, let the children know we're not very happy, but we're sorting it out in our own times, where they can go and sort it out in their own room. But as you say, with the habitual kissing, and the child will pick up if there's anger behind that, and they're just doing it because it's a habit. So it's to get that delicate balance, but the aim is to be as congruent, as authentic, as sincere as possible, because the child picks up the depth of what's really going on a deeper level besides the habitual. So that's consistency also, again, that's got an illusion if there's underlying emotions that haven't been dealt with. So it's to get that balance where sometimes if you really are having an argument, then you don't just want to do consistently just because then it teaches the child just to kind of do it, but there's no meaning behind it. Because kissing is a display of love and affection that comes from the heart. But it is a delicate balance, because at the same time you want to teach the children to respect each other in a way that is still got that elegant expression of communication to each other.
It's going up to 14 minutes now before 12 o'clock. I've got some more WhatsApp voice notes, some calls as well, that I want us to squeeze in before we wrap up this chat. When we come back, I'll go to your calls and your WhatsApps as you share your experiences with us around showing affection in front of your children, but also towards your children.
Are you ready to save even more on brands you love at Dis-Chem? The more you buy, the more you save when you stock up on selected Unilever personal care brands such as Vaseline, Dove, Lux, Pond's, Radox and more. Get 15% off when you buy one product, 20% off when you buy two, and a massive 25% off when you buy three. T's and C's apply. Hurry, Unilever deals end 13 July, only at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
We are woven into the same soil that shapes South Africa. Its dreams, its energy, its promise. These guide us. Together we've built progress, hand in hand, from the mines to bustling main streets, from one generation to the next. With communities, government and partners, every initiative from healthcare to education, youth empowerment to entrepreneurship lights the way forward. Because we don't just mine minerals, we mine possibility and progress with purpose. Together, we're shaping what's next. Mining potential, building beyond. Anglo-American.
Your workday calls for more capability, more grit, more getting it done. Your weekends demand more freedom, more pushing the boundaries. And the all-new GWMP 300 Bucky is where it all comes together. Ring it on in the all-new GWMP 300 from $6,999 per month. Visit gwm.coza for T's and C's and to book a test drive. Go with more. Go with GWM.
The Money Show. Weekday evenings at 6.
The International Continental Hotels Group saying this week it believes South Africa is underserved when it comes to luxury hotels.
I do believe in what they're saying because we have projected that we need to grow our tourism numbers from international inbound perspective to more than 15 million by 2030, and therefore there will be a market. And I think we are a future destination.
Chifio Chifengwa is the CEO of the Tourism Business Council of South Africa.
The Money Show on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB. ABSA is a proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa 2025. ABSA is a registered FSP. Your story matters. 702. Let's walk the talk.
702. Family Matters.
11 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're wrapping up the conversation around the importance of showing affection towards your kids, in front of your kids as well. Let's start with these WhatsApp voice notes.
Hi, Clement. Is Mukhta from Pretoria. I actually realized that I love my son loudly and I show affection loudly. So in a sense that I hug him, I kiss him, I tell him that I love him all the time. He's 4 years old. So I do that intentionally because I don't remember receiving that from my parents. And in return, for example, last night when I was putting him down for bed, he literally just called me and he said that I love you. And I also realized that because he sees me and his dad kissing all the time, if we're just sitting on the couch and he's sitting between us, he'll literally come to us and he'll make us kiss. And he also does that when he can see that we are having a bit of a disagreement. He will force us to kiss each other. Thank you.
Hi, morning, Clemza. Clemza, hey, you said something very touching now as I'm driving in the car about fathers who have daughters and that at age 16 we stop being affectionate. It really touched me, and like my daughter's 9, the eldest one, the youngest is 4. And I want to find out, like when they get to that age, how do I continue that bond and that relationship, keeping it nice and healthy and as important as it is, so that like my daughter does not have daddy issues or of that sort, or her self confidence reduces. How can I maintain that relationship as great as it is now that we have like open communication currently?
Yeah, Debbie, suppose that it's similar to the question that was asked earlier about, like, do I continue it? How do I build it up? He says his daughter is 8 years old. And I wonder why parents feel like they have to stop it at some point, Debbie. Yes, that other father said, yeah, I don't want my child to be too soft. I worry about whether they'll be able to stand up for themselves. And But I wonder what other reasons are there for parents to start withdrawing from that affection that they've demonstrated and showed over the years.
I think even with fathers and their daughters, when they reach puberty, it's that sexual kind of theme of not wanting to impose, or fears of societal kind of those themes that are around that. So it's important to be comfortable in your own being with that as a father, and to still give the daughter hugs and love and affection all throughout their teenage years as well. And not to allow that to impact on you, or to feel that it's anyway overstepping boundaries, so that it doesn't in any way come in to distract from the way you express to the teenager. Yeah. And then just referring to the other lady that spoke about the child wanting the parents to kiss to resolve conflict. It's important just to reassure the child that it's not the child's role to be the mediator or the referee, because otherwise the child will learn that to solve problems, the child learns that I have to be the referee for the parents and get them to kiss to solve the problem, because that will teach the child that this is the way you solve it, without giving it direct conflict resolution skills other than just kissing. So it's always to reassure the child that, don't worry, we are having a little bit of a fight now, but we're going to sort it out, and we'll only kiss when we're peaceful, so that they don't associate that as being a way of solving conflict.
Yeah.
Morning, Clement. This is Walter from Cape Town. So I'm a stepdad to a 15-year-old boy. I've been in his life for 3 years now. And from the get-go, when we met, he was a little bit, in his closet, didn't want to. But because I kept on affirming him, showing him affection, telling him I love him, telling him he's a good boy, he's smart, he's going to be great, it sort of opened him up. He started warming up to me, and ever since, our relationship has improved. The funny thing is, I grew up with my mother alone. She never used to tell me she loves me. She never used to tell me I'm a good person, I'm going to do, but she loved me. I never doubted my mother's love towards me, but it was just not in her to tell me that she loved me. So I don't know where I got it. Right now, I'm extremely affectionate to my partner and to her son. Walter from Cape Town.
Hi, Clement. So I work with children who suffered childhood trauma, purely from the experiences that I had in life. And I can tell you with the stepmom question, all I wanted was a stepmom who would treat me as a mother should treat a son. I honestly just wanted that love and affection. I wanted somebody to love me, because I didn't get that from my mother. And truly, but as you get older, you kind of realize, well, they're doing the best they can. But it's pretty tough, and I think, if you're going to marry into a family and be a step parent, you need to offer the child the love that they would have gotten from a mentally stable, healthy parent. And not always easy, but that's all the child wants, is that connection and love.
Yeah. Let's wrap up with this WhatsApp voice note.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to your guest. Yeah, man, Clement. My daughter's now 13. The other is 9. She's going to be 10. So I always give them hugs and kisses, but the older one is kind of getting embarrassed when I'm doing it, when I drop her off at school or when I pick her up from school. And I don't know how to let her know that this is how Daddy has always loved you and show love to you. But she kind of, runs away from getting that hug and kiss. Think it's maybe embarrassing for her friends, or maybe she's seeing someone. So maybe maybe your guest can help. Thank you.
Yeah, she responded to that earlier on. So what I'll do is I'll post this podcast on my timeline on Twitter. Please just check it. Go Google Family Matters, the importance of showing affection. The podcast will come up. Please send it to your friends, send it to your family members. I think we need to have these conversations, and you'll hear earlier on Debbie responding to that very question you're asking. Debbie House, clinical psychologist, thank you for guiding us through this conversation.
Change arrives kicking and screaming. It's challenging, impatient, confusing. Change is a moment of peace. Change is life-affirming. Change is growth. Change is opportunity. We've always believed it's worth investing in. For over 3 decades, we have been committed to seeking out the best investment opportunities for you, wherever they may be. 91. Investing for a world of change. 91 is an authorized FSP.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Neshua. Their CEO, Barry Venter, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporate That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Plus. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference.
Oh, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers 2 options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it.
Looking for real ways to live greener? Then don't miss Green Tip of the Week and your weekly dose of sustainable inspiration from eco-entrepreneurs to climate champions. We sit down with the people making real change. Catch Green Tip of the Week every Tuesday on Afternoon Drive with John Pellman from 3 to 6 p.m. only on 702. Proudly brought to you by Volvo. It's safe to be brave with Volvo.
Coming up
On the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
Coming up next, the Midday Report. How are you doing, Mandy?
Very good. Welcome.
Good. Yeah.
It's your show.
Yeah, welcome to my show. What's coming up on your show?
So we're going to start with the Bongani investigation into Paul Mashatile to unpack that, his link to the lotteries and the appointment there. So we'll speak to...
Is there anything the Deputy President is not linked to?
And yet, like Teflon, hey? Like Teflon. The death toll from the Eastern Cape floods has increased. The Agriculture Minister is inspecting foot and mouth outbreak sites. The Gupta compound is open to the public. Are you going to go check it out?
No, those people disgust me so much. What they did, I want nothing to do with them.
Aren't you curious?
I always wonder, when I was in Dubai, I used to think, what if I see them? What would I do? And I always
We all know what you'd do. And the
I would switch on my
listeners
camera
all know
and
what
run
you would do.
towards Rajesh. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Exactly. And then, did you watch Sundowns?
No, I didn't.
We'll wrap up the weekend sport.
All right, that's what's coming up with Mandy Wiener on the Midday Report. Thank you for listening to the Monday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. We'll be back again tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Mbali Dlamini. We begin in the Eastern Cape, where search teams are continuing with operations to try and find people who may have been swept away by water in the recent flooding. In an update this morning, authorities confirmed that 2 more bodies have been found, bringing the death toll to 95. According to aid organisation Gift of the Givers, a local resident spotted the bodies and immediately contacted authorities. Head of Search and Rescue, Hamad Bin.
They found 1 more body now this morning, the South African Police Services Air Wing. It's a male patient plus minus, it's actually a child plus minus about 15 years old.
Auditor General Tsakani Maluleke has called for transparency in the handling of public funds at state institutions. Maluleke says it's important for leaders in public service to uphold the rule of law. She has been addressing the high-level political dialogue in the review of the 1998 White Paper on local government in Midrand today. The